Every day, most of us spend hours on our phones, computers, and other devices without even noticing how much attention we give away. Notifications pull us in, endless feeds demand our focus, and before we know it, the day is gone. It's not about technology being bad. It's about how constant digital engagement fragments your mind, drains your energy, and keeps you from doing what truly matters. This audiobook is about taking back control of your attention and building a focused mind. You will learn practical steps to identify distractions, set boundaries, and create habits that protect your concentration. You'll discover how to replace mindless scrolling with activities that improve your skills, strengthen your focus, and refresh your energy. Each chapter gives actionable guidance that you can apply immediately, helping you regain clarity, mental calm, and control over your day. You'll also explore ways to reconnect with life outside screens. You'll learn how to reflect on your digital habits, manage your devices intentionally, and even create morning and evening routines that support focus and presence. By committing to these practices, you can stop reacting to notifications and start directing your attention where it truly matters. If you've ever felt distracted, drained, or like your mind is constantly scattered, this audiobook will give you a clear, step-by-step path to reclaiming your attention. By the end, you'll have a full plan for a sustainable digital detox lifestyle that strengthens focus, restores energy, and allows you to engage fully with every moment. Chapter 1: Identify digital distractions that steal your daily focus. Digital distractions are quietly shaping the way we live our lives, often without us even realizing the extent of their influence. Each day begins with the glow of a screen, notifications pinging in, and endless streams of information vying for attention. What starts as a simple check of messages or social media updates slowly grows into hours of fragmented attention, leaving the mind tired, the spirit restless, and productivity stunted. The first step toward reclaiming focus is not to attack technology itself, but to identify the distractions that steal your time and mental energy before they can take root. Understanding how these digital interruptions affect the brain, daily routines, and personal goals is the foundation for building a life with purpose and clarity. Distractions come in many forms. They are not always obvious, and some may feel harmless or even necessary. Notifications, endless scrolling, constant emails, social media updates, news alerts, and pop-up messages all contribute to a fractured state of attention. Each alert triggers a small burst of dopamine, a chemical in the brain that rewards attention, making it easy to justify checking a phone, a device, or an app repeatedly. Over time, these small bursts accumulate into a habit that not only reduces focus but also diminishes our ability to engage deeply with any task. Identifying these distractions begins with observation. The first step is to track digital habits. This requires a deliberate and honest look at how devices are used. Start by noting every time the phone is picked up, the screen is unlocked, or attention shifts from a task to a digital device. This is not about judging yourself, but about collecting real information. Awareness creates a foundation for change. Notice patterns. Are certain apps checked automatically upon waking? Is there a tendency to open a device when bored, stressed, or anxious? Which notifications cause the most frequent interruptions? By documenting these behaviors for a week, a clear picture emerges, showing exactly where attention is being diverted. Beyond identifying the obvious distractions, it is crucial to recognize subtle ones. Digital distractions are not limited to social media or messaging. Even work-related emails, productivity apps, and online research can fracture attention if used without intention. Multitasking, often disguised as efficiency, is a major source of distraction. Switching from one app to another, answering an incoming message while writing an important document, or glancing at news updates during a focused session may feel normal, but it erodes the brain's ability to sustain attention. Understanding that distraction is not just external but also internal, driven by habits, impulses, and emotional triggers, is key to reclaiming control. Identifying digital distractions also requires examining the environment. Devices are designed to be accessible and attention-grabbing. Notifications, sounds, and visual cues are engineered to pull focus instantly. Even placing a device within reach creates a subconscious temptation. The workspace or living environment can either support focus or amplify distraction. Observe where distractions happen most often. Is it the bedroom with a phone on the nightstand, the kitchen where a tablet streams videos while eating, or the living room with constant background notifications? Once these areas are recognized, the next step is to strategically manage the environment to reduce digital interruptions. Another critical insight is the recognition of emotional triggers. Many digital distractions serve as emotional crutches. Scrolling through feeds when lonely, checking messages when anxious, or opening a news app when stressed temporarily satisfies emotional needs but ultimately reduces focus and mental clarity. Awareness of these emotional triggers is essential. Each time a device is opened automatically, pause and ask why. Is it genuine curiosity, boredom, stress, or habit? Understanding the underlying motivation behind digital actions transforms the way one interacts with technology and sets the stage for intentional choices. Creating a simple system to categorize distractions is practical and effective. Start by listing all sources of digital interruptions: apps, notifications, emails, alerts, and devices themselves. Next, evaluate the purpose and necessity of each. Which items genuinely support goals and productivity? Which exist purely for momentary pleasure or habit? This exercise clarifies priorities and highlights the areas where attention is being lost unnecessarily. By separating essential digital use from non-essential, the mind begins to see control as achievable, and focus becomes an attainable skill rather than a distant aspiration. Immediate action can begin with small, intentional interventions. One method is to audit notifications systematically. Each notification is an invitation to attention. Decide which notifications are truly necessary and disable the rest. This includes social media, promotional emails, news alerts, and game notifications. Allow only alerts that are directly linked to immediate goals, work responsibilities, or critical personal matters. Each eliminated notification reduces micro-distractions that chip away at focus throughout the day. The cumulative effect of removing unnecessary alerts is profound. Another actionable step is to evaluate app usage. Many apps are designed to encourage repeated engagement through endless content and addictive loops. Identifying which apps consume excessive time without tangible benefits is crucial. Set limits or remove them entirely if they do not serve meaningful purposes. For apps that are necessary for work or essential communication, create structured windows of usage. Intentionality is key. Using an app to achieve a goal is empowering, while using an app out of habit or compulsion is draining. Recognizing this distinction allows focus to become a daily practice instead of a fleeting effort. It is also important to recognize the impact of constant partial attention. Each time attention shifts from one task to a digital distraction, cognitive energy is spent. The brain must reorient itself repeatedly, and this costs both time and mental clarity. Even short distractions, such as checking a phone for a minute, can disrupt deep work for 30 minutes or longer. Understanding this cost motivates practical behavior change. Avoiding small distractions is not about perfection. It is about protecting the integrity of focus and respecting the energy invested in tasks that matter. The habit of mindless digital consumption must be countered with deliberate action. This begins by creating a focus-friendly environment. Keep devices out of immediate reach during important tasks. Use Do Not Disturb modes when deep focus is required, and schedule specific times for checking emails or messages. Replace habitual digital interactions with intentional routines. For example, a morning ritual that begins without screens primes the mind for clarity, while a planned evening window for digital engagement ensures relaxation without compromising rest or attention. These routines create predictable structures that safeguard focus and foster consistency in daily life. Reflection is another essential practice for identifying distractions. At the end of each day, evaluate how attention was spent, which digital activities were productive, and which were reactive or habitual. Journaling these observations makes patterns visible and offers opportunities for incremental improvements. Reflection encourages discipline and cultivates a sense of personal responsibility for attention. The more one reflects on the role of digital interactions in daily life, the more capable one becomes of making intentional decisions that support goals, growth, and mental well-being. The recognition of digital distractions is also tied to understanding the broader consequences. Excessive digital engagement impacts memory, creativity, relationships, and emotional resilience. Constant interruptions prevent the mind from entering a state of deep thought, reduce the ability to retain information, and diminish the capacity to engage in meaningful conversations. A distracted mind struggles with problem-solving and decision-making. Acknowledging these consequences motivates the necessary action to reclaim focus. The stakes are real, and the benefits of a distraction-free mind are tangible clarity, calm, and greater control over life. One practical method to strengthen awareness is through time audits. Record daily activities in detail, noting both digital and non-digital engagements. This exercise highlights wasted moments, unconscious scrolling, and reactive behaviors. It also illuminates times of day when attention is strongest and when distractions are most likely to intrude. With this information, one can design routines that align with natural attention cycles, scheduling demanding cognitive tasks during peak focus periods and minimizing digital interactions during those critical times. Awareness combined with structure multiplies effectiveness. It is also valuable to create a digital inventory of priorities. List all tasks, goals, and responsibilities that require attention. Then identify how digital distractions interfere with accomplishing them. This inventory makes the cost of distractions concrete and provides clarity on the trade-offs inherent in habitual device use. Each digital interruption represents lost opportunity, and seeing these losses clearly fosters motivation to create boundaries. Once priorities are explicit, attention becomes a strategic asset rather than a reactive habit. Developing self-awareness around digital habits requires emotional honesty. Many avoid confronting their reliance on devices due to discomfort, denial, or fear of missing out. Recognizing this tendency is itself a form of mastery. Discipline begins with acknowledging where attention is lost and accepting the responsibility to redirect it. Self-awareness empowers conscious choice. Every moment spent observing digital behavior without judgment builds the muscle of focus. Gradually, small adjustments accumulate into lasting habits that reclaim time, mental energy, and clarity. Accountability amplifies the identification process. Sharing intentions with trusted friends, family, or colleagues creates external reinforcement. Reporting on digital usage patterns, successes, and challenges reinforces commitment. Accountability transforms a private habit into a visible practice, making distractions easier to resist and attention easier to protect. Community support, even in subtle ways, strengthens the resolve to act intentionally in a world designed to fragment focus. The next step after identification is the creation of a personal distraction map. Chart which digital inputs dominate the day, categorize them by importance, and visualize where focus is lost. This map becomes a blueprint for action, showing precisely where interventions are required. With a clear map, it is easier to implement strategies such as notification control, scheduled usage windows, and mindful engagement. Knowledge of the landscape of distraction is the first step in reclaiming the territory of attention. It is essential to pair identification with tangible, immediate action. Awareness alone is insufficient. Each insight about digital distraction must be followed by deliberate steps to regain control. This may involve removing apps, muting notifications, scheduling device-free periods, or practicing short daily sessions of focused work without interruptions. Action reinforces awareness and transforms insight into real change. Consistency over time solidifies these practices, gradually rewiring habits and strengthening the mind's capacity to sustain focus. Digital distractions also serve as a test of self-mastery. The ability to recognize, resist, and redirect attention reflects a deeper discipline that extends beyond technology. It is a measure of resilience, patience, and commitment to personal goals. Each small victory in controlling digital habits reinforces confidence and creates momentum. Mastery over distractions is not about deprivation, it is about reclaiming agency, optimizing energy, and nurturing the capacity to live deliberately. A final insight is the need to integrate this awareness into a long-term perspective. Distraction identification is not a one-time activity, but a continuous practice. Technology evolves, habits shift, and new challenges arise. Regular audits, reflection, and adjustments maintain clarity and protect focus over time. By committing to sustained awareness, attention becomes a tool rather than a victim of external forces. This ongoing practice builds resilience, deepens self-understanding, and strengthens the mind for a lifetime of purposeful action. In conclusion, identifying digital distractions is the foundational step toward reclaiming mental clarity, focus, and control over life. Awareness illuminates the invisible forces fragmenting attention, while observation, reflection, and action transform understanding into practical mastery. By documenting habits, recognizing emotional triggers, auditing notifications, tracking usage patterns, and evaluating priorities, the mind is freed from reactive behavior and positioned for intentional engagement. This process is both empowering and transformative. Every small step, whether removing a single notification, restructuring the environment, reflecting on daily habits, or practicing focused work, contributes to a broader shift. Each decision to resist habitual scrolling or impulsive checking strengthens the ability to act intentionally. Reclaiming attention is not a fleeting goal, but a lifelong practice. The more diligently distractions are identified and managed, the more clarity, energy, and purpose one cultivates. Focus becomes a cultivated skill, personal growth becomes inevitable, and life begins to feel directed rather than fragmented. The journey starts here, with deliberate observation, honest reflection, and courageous action. Each day provides an opportunity to notice distractions, understand their effects, and choose a different path. Over time, the accumulation of these conscious choices reshapes daily life. The mind, once fractured by countless interruptions, begins to operate with precision, calm, and strength. The foundation of a focused, productive, and meaningful life is built through the identification and management of digital distractions. Mastery of this first step unlocks the door to every subsequent stage of digital detox and mental clarity. Identifying distractions is not simply a practical exercise, it is an exercise in self-mastery. It cultivates patience, strengthens discipline, and teaches the power of observation. With attention reclaimed, time becomes more abundant, decisions become clearer, and the capacity to engage fully with work, relationships, and personal growth expands. This chapter sets the stage for everything that follows in the journey toward a focused mind. The clarity gained here becomes the catalyst for sustained improvement, enabling a life of intentional action and meaningful accomplishments. By committing to understanding and mapping digital distractions, the reader takes ownership of attention in a way that few others consciously do. This ownership is not merely about limiting technology, it is about regaining control over the mind. Every notification ignored, every habitual check replaced with a deliberate choice, and every reflection noted in a journal strengthens the ability to remain present and focused. The power of attention, once reclaimed, transforms not just the day, but the trajectory of life itself. Chapter 2: Eliminate unnecessary notifications that interrupt your mental flow. Digital notifications have quietly taken over the rhythm of daily life, fragmenting attention and subtly eroding focus without most people realizing it. Each ping, vibration, or flashing alert is a small but constant interruption that diverts the mind from what truly matters. The first step to reclaiming mental flow is to take a careful and deliberate look at the notifications that invade your day. Every alert is an invitation to attention, and not every invitation deserves a response. Understanding which notifications support meaningful work and which serve only to fragment your concentration is essential for regaining control over your time and energy. The challenge begins with awareness. Most people react automatically to notifications, often without considering whether the alert aligns with priorities. This automatic response becomes a habit that trains the brain to shift focus frequently, weakening the ability to sustain deep attention. Begin by observing each notification that appears on your devices. Note the source, frequency, and impact of each interruption. Awareness alone creates clarity and allows for conscious decisions about which notifications are necessary. Once awareness is established, categorize notifications into meaningful groups. Essential notifications include those directly tied to work responsibilities, urgent communications, or time-sensitive personal matters. Non-essential notifications often include social media likes, comments, app updates, promotional messages, and news alerts that do not contribute to immediate priorities. By distinguishing between these categories, it becomes possible to see where attention is being consumed unnecessarily and to take action to reclaim it. The next step is decisive action. Non-essential notifications must be disabled. This can be done through app settings, device preferences, or notification management tools. It is important to approach this task with the mindset that every eliminated alert is a small victory for focus. Removing distractions does not reduce productivity. It enhances the ability to engage fully with the tasks and people that truly matter. Each notification removed creates space for uninterrupted thought and deep engagement with work, study, or personal growth. Prioritization is crucial when deciding which alerts remain active. Only notifications that have a clear, immediate purpose should be allowed to break focus. Even work-related notifications can be scheduled or batched to appear at designated times rather than constantly intruding. By controlling when and how alerts reach attention, mental flow is preserved and the brain is free to operate without constant interruption. This deliberate management of alerts strengthens discipline and enhances cognitive performance. Consider the physical environment as part of this practice. Notifications that arrive in the midst of focused work can create unnecessary stress and divert attention from important tasks. Position devices out of sight or use do not disturb modes during periods of concentration. The absence of visible alerts reduces the impulse to check devices and allows focus to deepen naturally. Removing visual and auditory cues is an effective strategy to maintain uninterrupted mental engagement. A key insight is that the mind treats interruptions as urgent, even when they are trivial. The brain reacts to alerts with heightened attention, triggering a brief dopamine response that reinforces the habit of distraction. Understanding this mechanism is empowering because it highlights that the perceived urgency of notifications is often artificial. By choosing to ignore non-essential alerts, the mind is trained to respond only to what is meaningful, strengthening the ability to sustain focus and engage intentionally with tasks. Implementing scheduled times for checking notifications is a practical approach. Instead of responding to every alert immediately, allocate specific windows in the day for reviewing messages, emails, and updates. This approach transforms notifications from constant intrusions into structured activities that support productivity rather than disrupt it. Over time, this discipline conditions the brain to focus deeply during uninterrupted periods and to handle digital communications efficiently during designated intervals. Reflection enhances this process. At the end of each day, review how notifications influenced attention and productivity. Which alerts were necessary and which were distractions. This evaluation provides insight into personal patterns, emotional triggers, and areas where focus can be further strengthened. Reflection is an ongoing practice that builds self-awareness and reinforces the habit of intentional attention management. It is also important to recognize the psychological benefits of notification control. Constant alerts create a state of mental fragmentation, increasing stress and reducing the ability to think clearly. By eliminating unnecessary notifications, mental bandwidth is restored, allowing for improved problem-solving, creativity, and decision-making. Reduced interruptions cultivate calm, clarity, and a sense of control over daily life. The mind becomes capable of sustained concentration, and each task is approached with full presence and energy. Adopting this approach requires commitment and consistency. Habits take time to form, and the impulse to check alerts will initially persist. Consistent reinforcement through deliberate action, reflection, and environmental management gradually rewires attention. Each day spent consciously reducing notifications strengthens focus, enhances productivity, and restores a sense of mental freedom. Over weeks and months, the cumulative effect becomes profound, transforming the relationship with technology from reactive to intentional. The benefits extend beyond productivity. Eliminating non-essential notifications improves emotional resilience, reduces anxiety, and enhances personal relationships. Constantly reacting to alerts creates tension and fragmented interaction, both with tasks and with people. By controlling notifications, attention is preserved for meaningful engagement, deeper conversations, and a calmer presence in daily life. The discipline to manage digital interruptions directly translates into improved well-being and stronger focus on what matters most. A practical step is to review app permissions. Many applications default to sending notifications without considering user needs. Audit all installed apps and revoke unnecessary permissions. This process may initially feel tedious, but it is an essential step in taking control of digital life. Each app audited and managed reduces potential interruptions, strengthens intentionality, and reinforces a habit of conscious technology use. Understanding personal triggers is another important element. Some individuals respond to notifications immediately due to habit, emotional need, or fear of missing out. Identifying these triggers allows for targeted strategies to resist distraction. For instance, if social media alerts trigger habitual checking, removing push notifications or logging out of accounts during focused periods can prevent mindless engagement. Recognizing triggers empowers the mind to act with purpose rather than react automatically. Batching notifications is an effective strategy for balancing responsiveness with focus. Set times during the day to check emails, messages, and other alerts, rather than responding instantly. This approach protects uninterrupted periods while ensuring necessary communications are addressed efficiently. Batching also reduces the mental load of constant context switching, allowing the brain to operate at optimal capacity for problem-solving and creative thinking. The removal of unnecessary notifications fosters self-mastery. Each decision to ignore an alert reinforces discipline, strengthens attention, and cultivates resilience. Focus is no longer surrendered to the device, but reclaimed as a personal resource. Mastery of attention requires deliberate practice, and managing notifications is a practical and accessible method for achieving it. The more consistently alerts are controlled, the more capable the mind becomes of sustaining deep, meaningful engagement with work and life. Intentional notification management also sets the stage for a digital culture of purpose. When alerts are minimized, interactions with technology are deliberate, goal-oriented, and meaningful. Each interaction becomes conscious rather than reactive, allowing the mind to operate with clarity and confidence. This intentional approach transforms digital devices from tools of distraction into instruments of productivity and growth. Accountability enhances results. Sharing notification management strategies with a trusted colleague, friend, or family member encourages adherence to new habits. External support reinforces consistency, offers perspective, and provides motivation to maintain focus. Accountability partners also create opportunities for mutual reflection on digital habits and collective strategies to reduce interruptions, strengthening personal commitment and reinforcing long-term success. Small wins accumulate to create substantial change. Each notification disabled, each alert ignored, and each focus session practiced contributes to the larger goal of sustained attention. The process is iterative. Awareness leads to action, action strengthens discipline, and discipline reinforces freedom of attention. The cumulative effect of these deliberate actions is profound, improving productivity, mental clarity, emotional well-being, and overall quality of life. The key is deliberate and consistent practice. Notification elimination is not a one-time task but an ongoing commitment. Technology and habits evolve, and periodic reassessment ensures that only meaningful alerts capture attention. Continuous refinement strengthens focus and reinforces intentional living. Each day provides the opportunity to evaluate, adjust, and strengthen the practices that preserve mental flow and protect attention from unnecessary interruptions. Through these practices, mental clarity and productivity are restored. Removing distractions allows for longer periods of deep engagement, more creative thinking, and greater satisfaction in accomplishments. The mind becomes capable of deliberate thought rather than fragmented reaction. Emotional energy is preserved, stress decreases, and the ability to engage fully in life increases. Eliminating unnecessary notifications transforms both the way technology is used and the quality of attention applied to daily pursuits. The discipline of notification control cultivates a broader sense of self-mastery. Each decision to prioritize focus over immediate distraction reinforces confidence, strengthens willpower, and builds the capacity for intentional action in all areas of life. Attention is reclaimed as a personal asset, and the ability to direct it consciously becomes a defining characteristic of personal growth. Through consistent effort, mental flow is protected, and a life of clarity, purpose, and meaningful engagement emerges naturally. Eliminating unnecessary notifications is a simple yet powerful practice. Each step, from auditing alerts to batching responses, disabling non-essential notifications, creating intentional routines, and reflecting on patterns, strengthens the mind's ability to maintain focus. This practice is both practical and transformative, cultivating discipline, resilience, and clarity in the face of constant digital demands. Over time, the mind adapts, attention is preserved, and the capacity to engage deeply with work, relationships, and personal growth is restored. By mastering the control of notifications, the reader gains the freedom to direct attention intentionally. Each eliminated alert, each resisted impulse, and each structured period of focus is a step toward reclaiming mental energy and clarity. The process is empowering, actionable, and sustainable. In a world designed to fragment attention, the deliberate elimination of unnecessary notifications provides the structure, discipline, and clarity required to live a focused and meaningful life. Chapter 3C. Schedule device, free periods to strengthen mental clarity. Every day presents a choice between scattered attention and deliberate focus, and one of the most powerful ways to reclaim control over the mind is by intentionally scheduling device-free periods. In a world dominated by screens, constant connectivity, and digital noise, the absence of devices is not deprivation, it is an opportunity for the mind to rest, reorganize, and strengthen its capacity for clarity. Device-free periods create a protective space where attention is uninterrupted, cognitive energy is preserved, and mental processes can operate at their full potential. The first step is recognizing the impact that constant digital engagement has on thinking, decision-making, and emotional balance. Even brief interactions with devices can fragment attention. The brain requires time to process information, consolidate memory, and restore focus. When screens dominate the day, these natural processes are disrupted, and the mind becomes prone to fatigue, reduced problem-solving ability, and diminished creativity. Scheduling time without devices counteracts these effects. It allows the nervous system to recover from constant stimulation, fostering calm and enhancing the capacity to engage fully with important tasks, people, and experiences. The concept is simple, but the effects are profound. Creating device-free periods begins with identifying the moments of day when concentration and mental clarity are most needed. Many people start their mornings with immediate exposure to emails, news updates, or social media. This habit fragments thought and imposes external priorities before internal intentions can take shape. Deliberately choosing to begin the day without devices allows the mind to awaken gradually, prioritize the most meaningful actions, and establish a rhythm that supports productivity and mental resilience. A device-free morning ritual, even for 30 minutes, can set the tone for the entire day. Evenings provide another critical window for device-free practice. Using devices right before sleep stimulates the brain with blue light, information overload, and emotional responses. This interferes with the natural sleep cycle and prevents mental recovery. Scheduling an evening period without screens allows for reflection, calm, and preparation for restorative rest. Activities during this time, such as journaling, reading, stretching, or simply observing the surroundings, strengthen attention, enhance clarity, and reduce the subconscious pull of constant connectivity. The key to successful device-free scheduling is consistency. Arbitrary or sporadic intervals are less effective than deliberate, repeated practice. Start with small blocks of time, even 15 to 30 minutes, and gradually increase the duration as the habit solidifies. Consistency trains the mind to function without constant digital input, strengthening discipline and creating predictable periods of mental calm. The regularity of these intervals transforms the mind's relationship with technology from reactive to intentional, reinforcing focus and resilience over time. Environmental preparation supports device-free periods, placing devices out of immediate reach, silencing notifications, and creating a physical space dedicated to device-free activity reduces temptation. Without constant cues, the mind is freed to engage with tasks or reflection, and the risk of interruption diminishes. The environment becomes an ally in building focus rather than a source of distraction. A deliberate setup encourages the brain to settle into deeper attention rather than continuously scanning for alerts. Device-free periods also foster self-awareness. Time without digital input creates a space for observing thoughts, emotions, and habitual behaviors without external interference. It becomes possible to notice patterns of distraction, impulsivity, or emotional reactivity that otherwise go unnoticed. This heightened self-awareness informs decisions about how devices are used throughout the day. By cultivating observation during device-free intervals, the mind develops the capacity to act intentionally rather than react automatically. Intentional replacement of device use during scheduled periods reinforces their value. Rather than perceiving these intervals as empty or boring, engage in activities that stimulate the mind and body constructively. Reading, meditative breathing, walking or skill-building exercises are examples of meaningful alternatives. These activities restore cognitive energy, improve problem-solving ability, and strengthen focus. Over time, the mind begins to anticipate and enjoy device-free periods, recognizing them as opportunities for growth rather than deprivation. Tracking progress enhances the effectiveness of scheduled device-free times. Journaling or recording the duration and quality of these intervals provides feedback on their impact. Observing changes in focus, productivity, and emotional state reinforces motivation to continue. Over time, these observations reveal patterns, such as optimal times for device-free practice and areas where additional attention management is required. Structured reflection ensures that practice evolves in alignment with personal goals and strengthens the overall habit. Understanding emotional responses during device-free periods is also crucial. Initial resistance, anxiety, or restlessness often occurs when devices are removed. These responses reveal the depth of dependency and the habitual nature of distraction. Confronting these emotions without succumbing to the impulse to check a device strengthens self-discipline and cultivates resilience and reinforces the ability to maintain mental clarity. Each period of resistance overcome increases confidence and deepens the sense of mastery over attention. Device-free periods provide an opportunity to reconnect with purpose. When the mind is no longer fragmented by constant alerts, priorities become clearer, and the ability to engage fully with meaningful tasks is restored. Strategic scheduling of these intervals ensures that attention is directed toward goals that align with personal values rather than reactive responses to external stimuli. Over time, this practice strengthens intentionality and allows the mind to operate with greater precision and clarity. Integration of device-free periods into daily life requires planning. Consider the natural rhythms of attention and energy throughout the day and schedule intervals accordingly. High-energy periods are ideal for deep work without interruption, while lower-energy periods may serve well for reflection, reading, or quiet observation. Aligning device-free times with natural cognitive cycles maximizes the benefits of these intervals and reinforces focus throughout the day. Accountability strengthens adherence to device-free schedules. Sharing intentions with trusted peers, friends, or family creates a support system and increases commitment. Reporting on successes and challenges provides reinforcement and encourages consistent practice. Accountability transforms personal practice into a disciplined routine, leveraging social reinforcement to maintain long-term focus and mental clarity. Over time, scheduled device-free periods lead to broader cognitive improvements. The brain develops the capacity to sustain attention for longer durations, resist impulsive distraction, and engage deeply with complex tasks. Emotional regulation improves, stress decreases, and the ability to think critically strengthens. Device-free practice is a foundation for enhanced productivity, creativity, and personal growth. The consistent cultivation of uninterrupted attention becomes a lifelong skill that benefits all areas of life. Device-free intervals also encourage presence in interactions. Without the constant pull of alerts, attention is more fully devoted to conversations, meetings, and experiences. Listening becomes more intentional, understanding deepens, and relationships improve. The practice cultivates patience and reinforces the value of direct engagement rather than fragmented attention. It also models intentional behavior for others, creating a culture of focus and presence. Gradual expansion of device-free periods strengthens mental resilience. Starting with short intervals, then progressively increasing duration, challenges the mind to sustain attention for longer spans. This progressive training enhances the ability to concentrate, improves memory, and fosters clarity of thought. Gradual increases also prevent resistance from overwhelming the practice, allowing steady growth in focus and discipline. Device-free scheduling is a tool for cultivating deliberate attention. Each interval reinforces the ability to manage distractions, control impulses, and maintain clarity. The practice is not punitive but restorative, designed to provide mental space for reflection, insight, and deliberate action. It cultivates self-mastery, strengthens personal discipline, and restores control over the mind's natural capacity for focus. Reflection after each device-free interval reinforces the practice. Observing thoughts, emotions, and productivity during these times provides valuable insight into how attention is used throughout the day. It also highlights areas for improvement, ensuring continuous refinement of focus management strategies. Regular reflection strengthens self-awareness and supports the ongoing development of intentional habits. The benefits of device-free periods accumulate over time. Increased clarity, deeper engagement with tasks, improved emotional regulation, and strengthened discipline are just a few outcomes. Attention becomes a personal resource rather than a commodity scattered across countless notifications and alerts. Over weeks and months, the mind operates with greater efficiency, resilience, and intentionality. The simple act of scheduling device-free intervals transforms mental energy into a reliable foundation for achievement and personal growth. Implementing these practices requires commitment but yields substantial rewards. Device-free periods create an environment where the mind can operate fully without external intrusion. They foster focus, enhance cognitive performance, and restore balance to daily life. Each interval practiced strengthens attention, deepens self-awareness, and reinforces the ability to act intentionally rather than react impulsively. The practice of scheduling device-free periods is both practical and transformative. By dedicating time to uninterrupted attention, the mind develops resilience, clarity, and the capacity for sustained focus. The benefits extend to productivity, relationships, emotional well-being, and personal growth. Over time, device-free practice becomes an integrated part of daily life, strengthening the ability to live intentionally, achieve goals, and maintain mental clarity in an increasingly connected world. The deliberate removal of devices at scheduled intervals is an exercise in self-discipline and personal mastery. Each period strengthens control over attention, fosters reflection, and reinforces the capacity to engage fully with the present. With consistent practice, the mind becomes capable of deep focus, calm thought, and deliberate action. The simple act of intentionally stepping away from devices cultivates clarity, discipline, and sustained mental energy that enhances every aspect of life. Device-free periods transform attention from a reactive response into a deliberate skill. Each interval reinforces control over impulses, strengthens focus, and cultivates mental resilience. The consistent practice of scheduling uninterrupted time allows the mind to operate at full potential, enhances productivity, and fosters clarity in decision-making. It also supports emotional balance and improves the quality of engagement with both work and life. By committing to this practice, the reader develops a framework for attention management that is both practical and sustainable. Device-free periods protect focus, reinforce discipline, and cultivate intentional living. They provide a foundation for deeper engagement with meaningful activities, enhance cognitive performance, and create mental space for reflection and growth. Over time, these intervals become integral to daily life, transforming the way attention is applied and enhancing personal effectiveness across all areas. Device-free periods are not an occasional luxury, but a necessary practice for mental clarity, resilience, and intentional action. By dedicating specific blocks of time to uninterrupted focus, the mind is strengthened, attention is reclaimed, and energy is restored. The consistent integration of device-free intervals builds discipline, deepens self-awareness, and fosters sustained cognitive performance. These periods serve as anchors in a world filled with distractions, allowing clarity, presence, and deliberate action to become the natural state of daily life. Chapter 40. Replace screen time with meaningful productive activities. Replacing screen time with meaningful and productive activities is one of the most effective ways to regain control over daily life, strengthen focus, and cultivate personal growth. Screens offer endless distractions that consume time, energy, and attention, often leaving the mind exhausted and goals unfulfilled. Every moment spent passively scrolling, watching, or reacting to digital input is an opportunity lost for growth, learning, or meaningful engagement. The process of intentionally replacing screen time begins with understanding how technology occupies attention and what it displaces. By observing daily habits, it becomes clear how much time is spent on non-essential digital activities and what valuable tasks are being postponed or neglected. Identifying screen time patterns requires honesty and precision. Track every moment spent on devices, noting the purpose and outcome of each interaction. Distinguish between activities that provide tangible value, such as work or communication, and those that are habitual, reactive, or purely entertaining. Once these patterns are visible, it is possible to make informed decisions about what to reduce or replace. Awareness is the first step toward deliberate change because it highlights the cost of habitual screen use and the opportunities waiting to be seized. The next step is to define what constitutes meaningful and productive activity for personal life. This can include learning new skills, engaging in physical exercise, practicing mindfulness, completing work projects, reading, journaling, or cultivating hobbies. Each person's definition of productivity is unique, but the core principle is that these activities contribute to growth, purpose, or well-being. By clearly identifying what is meaningful, it becomes easier to replace passive screen time with actions that provide lasting benefits rather than temporary distraction. Creating a structured plan ensures that screen replacement is deliberate and sustainable. Begin by scheduling time blocks dedicated to meaningful activities. Even small intervals, such as 15 or 30 minutes, can have a significant impact when practiced consistently. Use these blocks to focus on a single task without digital interruptions. Over time, these periods of productive engagement will expand naturally as momentum builds, and the habit of purposeful action replaces automatic device use. Environment plays a critical role in supporting this transition. Arrange spaces that encourage engagement in productive activities and reduce the temptation to reach for devices. Keep books, journals, or creative tools within reach, and place devices in locations that are not immediately accessible. Physical cues reinforce mental focus. When the environment aligns with desired behaviors, the brain is naturally guided toward meaningful activity and away from passive consumption. Mindset is equally important. Approach the replacement of screen time with intention rather than discipline alone. Recognize the intrinsic value of productive activities and the satisfaction derived from completing meaningful tasks. Frame each interval as an opportunity rather than a restriction. By shifting perspective from avoidance of screens to engagement with valuable work, motivation becomes internalized and the practice is easier to maintain. Variety enhances engagement and prevents boredom, which can otherwise trigger a return to screens. Rotate activities to include cognitive, physical, and creative pursuits. Learning a new language, practicing a musical instrument, exercising, or engaging in writing stimulates different parts of the brain and provides a sense of progress and accomplishment. Diverse activities maintain interest, enrich experience, and reduce the risk of reverting to habitual device use. Time management strengthens this process. Allocate specific times of day for productive activities and treat them as appointments with oneself. Structure removes ambiguity and reduces reliance on willpower alone. By committing to consistent time blocks for meaningful engagement, the mind adapts to new routines and productivity becomes habitual rather than forced. Over time, these intervals create a rhythm that naturally prioritizes growth over passive consumption. Reflection reinforces learning and ensures continued progress. After each session of meaningful activity, take a moment to evaluate what was achieved and how it felt. Assess the value of the time spent and note any insights gained. This practice strengthens self-awareness, provides motivation to continue, and highlights the tangible benefits of replacing screen time. Reflection also reveals patterns, such as preferred activities or times of peak focus, allowing for further optimization of routines. Accountability supports sustained action. Share goals or intentions with trusted peers, family members, or colleagues. Reporting progress and challenges reinforces commitment and provides encouragement. External accountability adds a layer of structure that strengthens adherence, reduces procrastination, and maintains momentum in cultivating productive habits. Support from others also creates opportunities for collaboration and mutual inspiration, enriching the experience of meaningful activity. Digital replacement should be gradual to ensure sustainability. Abrupt removal of all screen time often leads to frustration or relapse. Begin by targeting non-essential, low-value activities and progressively replace them with purposeful engagement. This incremental approach builds confidence, demonstrates tangible benefits, and reduces resistance. Small, consistent steps accumulate over time, transforming daily routines and creating lasting change in attention management and personal productivity. The emotional dimension of replacing screen time cannot be overlooked. Screens often serve as an escape from stress, boredom, or discomfort. Acknowledging these emotional triggers is critical. When resistance arises, consciously choose alternative activities that address underlying needs. Physical movement, creative expression, social interaction, or reflection can satisfy emotional impulses while strengthening focus. By addressing the emotional root of habitual screen use, the practice becomes more effective and sustainable. Tracking progress amplifies success. Maintain a record of daily screen time and productive activities to visualize improvements and identify areas needing attention. Measurement provides feedback that reinforces behavior change, motivates continued practice, and highlights the benefits of replacing passive digital consumption with meaningful engagement. Data-driven reflection strengthens habits and provides a tangible sense of achievement. Intentional breaks also support productivity. Replacing screen time does not mean constant activity without rest. Structured downtime for reflection, meditation, or quiet observation nurtures mental clarity, reduces fatigue, and maintains energy for productive tasks. Balance between active engagement and restorative pauses enhances overall effectiveness and prevents burnout, making sustainable focus achievable. The practice extends beyond individual benefits. Replacing screen time with meaningful activities enhances relationships, creativity, and contribution to personal and community goals. Engaging fully with people, projects, or learning opportunities cultivates satisfaction and fulfillment. Time once lost to passive scrolling becomes an investment in skills, connection, and personal growth, enriching life in ways screens rarely provide. Discipline is strengthened through repetition and consistency. Each successful choice to engage in a productive activity reinforces self-control, attention management, and confidence. As the habit solidifies, the mind naturally resists temptation and seeks out meaningful engagement. Discipline becomes self-reinforcing, and productive activity gradually replaces screen dependency as the default state. Creativity flourishes in the absence of screens. Passive digital consumption rarely generates original thought, whereas activities that challenge the mind, encourage problem-solving, or foster artistic expression stimulate innovation. Replacing screen time with these pursuits unlocks potential and provides a sense of accomplishment that virtual interactions cannot replicate. The mind expands, ideas develop, and confidence in personal ability grows. Long-term perspective strengthens commitment. Recognize that meaningful engagement is a cumulative practice, with benefits that compound over time. Each session of focused activity contributes to skill acquisition, mental resilience, and personal development. Over weeks and months, the accumulation of intentional effort produces measurable improvement in productivity, focus, and life satisfaction. Maintaining a long-term view sustains motivation and reinforces the importance of deliberate action over fleeting entertainment. Awareness of triggers and patterns ensures continued success. Monitor which times of day, emotional states, or environmental conditions increase the tendency to default to screens. Strategically schedule productive activities during these periods to replace automatic behaviors. By anticipating and planning for challenges, the mind is prepared to act intentionally, reducing reliance on willpower and enhancing consistency in meaningful engagement. The practice of replacing screen time strengthens overall mental clarity. By investing attention in purposeful activities, the mind consolidates knowledge, enhances focus, and improves problem-solving capacity. Each session builds cognitive resilience and reinforces the ability to sustain attention under varying conditions. Over time, the brain adapts to new habits, and mental energy becomes available for growth rather than being depleted by passive consumption. The cumulative impact is transformative. Time once surrendered to endless scrolling or passive consumption becomes an asset devoted to skill development, personal growth, and meaningful interaction. Emotional well-being improves, cognitive performance increases, and satisfaction with daily life grows. Replacing screen time with productive activity is a tangible demonstration of intentional living, creating a life characterized by focus, accomplishment, and fulfillment. Chapter 5: Prioritize tasks that build long-term personal growth. Prioritizing tasks that build long-term personal growth requires a shift in how daily decisions are made and how time is valued. Many people stay busy yet feel stagnant because their energy is spent reacting to urgent demands rather than investing in actions that shape their future. True growth is rarely loud or urgent. It often comes from quiet, consistent choices made daily, choices that may not deliver instant results but compound steadily over time. Learning to recognize and prioritize these tasks is an act of discipline, clarity, and respect for one's future self. The first challenge is understanding the difference between urgent tasks and important tasks. Urgent tasks demand immediate attention, often driven by deadlines, messages, or external pressure. Important tasks, on the other hand, are those that improve skills, strengthen character, build health, deepen understanding, or move life in a meaningful direction. These tasks often lack urgency, which is why they are easily postponed. Yet they carry the greatest long-term impact. Personal growth depends on choosing importance over urgency, even when urgency feels louder. To prioritize growth-focused tasks, it is necessary to define what personal growth truly means. Growth is not vague self-improvement talk or constant activity. It is the steady development of abilities, mindset, discipline, and self-awareness. This may include learning new skills, strengthening physical health, improving emotional control, building knowledge, or refining habits that support long-term goals. When growth is clearly defined, it becomes easier to identify which tasks deserve priority and which merely consume time. Clarity begins with honest self-assessment. Reflect on where life currently stands and where improvement is needed most. Identify weaknesses that limit progress and strengths that can be developed further. This reflection is not meant to criticize but to inform. Growth-focused priorities must be personal, not borrowed from trends or comparisons. When priorities align with real needs and values, commitment becomes stronger and effort more consistent. Once growth priorities are clear, tasks must be filtered through a simple question: does this action move life forward or simply keep it busy? This question cuts through confusion. Many daily activities feel productive but offer little long-term value. Checking messages repeatedly, attending unnecessary meetings, or reacting to minor issues may fill the day without building anything lasting. Growth-oriented tasks often feel challenging, uncomfortable, or mentally demanding, which is precisely why they matter. Time must then be allocated intentionally. Growth does not happen by accident or when time is left over. It requires deliberate scheduling. Choose specific periods, each day or week dedicated to growth, related tasks and protect them from interruption. Treat these commitments with the same seriousness as external obligations. When personal growth is scheduled, it becomes a non-negotiable part of life rather than an optional activity. Small, consistent actions matter more than large, occasional efforts. Long-term growth is built through repetition, not intensity alone. Reading a few pages daily, practicing a skill regularly, reflecting each evening, or exercising consistently produces more results than sporadic bursts of effort. Prioritization is not about doing everything at once, but about choosing a few high-value actions and repeating them faithfully. Discomfort is a reliable indicator of growth. Tasks that build long-term value often require focus, patience, and effort. They may not provide immediate pleasure or recognition. Choosing them over easy distractions strengthens self-discipline and mental resilience. Each time a growth-oriented task is chosen over a comfortable alternative, confidence grows and the habit of intentional living is reinforced. Decision fatigue can weaken prioritization, which is why simplification is essential. Reduce the number of daily decisions by creating routines that support growth. Fixed times for reading, learning, exercise, or reflection remove the need to decide repeatedly. When growth tasks are embedded into routine, they become automatic, reducing resistance and increasing consistency. Another key aspect is learning to say no. Prioritizing growth requires declining activities that do not align with long-term goals. This may include excessive social commitments, unnecessary digital engagement, or tasks that add little value. Saying no is not selfish, it is strategic. Every yes to a low-value task is a no to a high-value one. Protecting time and energy is essential for sustained growth. Progress should be measured thoughtfully. Growth often unfolds gradually, making it easy to overlook improvements. Regular reflection helps track progress and reinforces motivation. Reviewing what has been learned, improved, or strengthened over time provides evidence that prioritization is working. Reflection also reveals which tasks produce the most benefit, allowing for continuous refinement of priorities. Emotional discipline plays a major role in prioritization. Many people choose tasks based on mood rather than long-term benefit. Growth-oriented tasks require acting even when motivation is low. This builds inner strength and reliability. The ability to act according to values rather than emotions is a defining trait of personal mastery. Environment influences priorities more than intention alone. Surroundings should support growth-focused behavior. Keep tools for learning, planning, or practice easily accessible. Reduce exposure to distractions that pull attention toward low-value activities. A supportive environment reduces friction and makes growth-oriented choices easier to sustain. Prioritization also involves patience. Long-term growth does not provide immediate rewards, and impatience can lead to abandoning valuable practices prematurely. Trust the process. Understand that results accumulate quietly and reveal themselves over time. Consistency builds momentum, and momentum eventually produces visible change. Rest and recovery are also part of growth. Overworking without reflection or balance leads to burnout, not progress. Growth-oriented prioritization includes adequate rest, sleep, and mental recovery. A well-rested mind learns faster, focuses better, and makes wiser decisions. Balance sustains long-term effort. Accountability strengthens commitment. Sharing growth goals with trusted individuals creates external reinforcement. Reporting progress encourages consistency and provides perspective. Accountability is not about pressure but support. It helps maintain focus on long-term priorities when short-term distractions arise. Mistakes and setbacks should be viewed as feedback, not failure. Prioritization is a skill developed through practice. Some days will fall short and plans may break. The response matters more than the setback itself. Learn from missteps, adjust priorities, and continue forward. Persistence builds resilience and deepens self-trust. Growth-focused tasks often improve multiple areas of life simultaneously. Reading improves thinking, communication, and decision-making. Exercise strengthens health, discipline, and confidence. Reflection enhances self-awareness and emotional control. Choosing tasks with broad benefits maximizes return on effort and accelerates development. The long-term impact of prioritization extends beyond productivity. It shapes identity. Repeated choices define who a person becomes. Prioritizing growth-oriented tasks gradually transforms self-image from reactive to intentional, from scattered to focused. Identity change reinforces behavior, making growth a natural expression rather than a forced effort. Over time, prioritization becomes intuitive. The mind learns to recognize high-value tasks quickly and dismiss distractions with ease. This clarity reduces stress and increases satisfaction. Life feels purposeful rather than chaotic. Time feels invested rather than spent. The ultimate goal of prioritizing long-term growth is not constant improvement but meaningful progress. It is about building a life guided by values, discipline, and intention. Each day becomes an opportunity to strengthen the mind, refine character, and prepare for future challenges. Growth-oriented prioritization transforms daily choices into a steady path forward. By choosing tasks that serve long-term development, the reader steps out of reactive living and into deliberate action. This choice requires courage, patience, and consistency, but it delivers clarity, confidence, and resilience. Over months and years, the accumulation of these choices reshapes life in lasting ways. Prioritizing growth is not a single decision, but a daily practice, one that quietly builds strength, wisdom, and purpose with each intentional step. Chapter 6e: Establish clear boundaries for work and digital usage. Establishing clear boundaries for work and digital usage is essential for protecting focus, energy, and long-term well-being. Without boundaries, work spills into personal time, devices invade moments meant for rest, and the mind remains in a constant state of alertness. This state slowly drains motivation, weakens concentration, and blurs the line between purposeful effort and constant reaction. Boundaries are not restrictions meant to limit life. They are structures designed to preserve what matters most: clarity, balance, and control over one's time and attention. The absence of boundaries often begins subtly. A quick email check outside work hours becomes a habit. A message notification interrupts a meal. A work task extends late into the evening under the belief that productivity requires constant availability. Over time, these small intrusions accumulate, creating mental fatigue and emotional strain. Establishing boundaries starts with recognizing that unlimited access to work and devices does not lead to better results. It leads to exhaustion and reduced effectiveness. Clear boundaries require a firm decision about when work begins and when it ends. Work time should be clearly defined, even for those with flexible schedules or remote roles. When work hours are unclear, the mind never fully disengages, which prevents true recovery. Setting a defined end to the workday allows the brain to shift into rest mode, restoring energy and preparing for the next period of focused effort. This separation improves performance rather than diminishing it. Digital usage boundaries are equally important. Devices blur the separation between professional duties and personal life. Notifications arrive at all hours, creating a sense of urgency that rarely reflects true importance. Establishing rules for device usage helps reclaim autonomy over attention. This may include disabling work-related notifications after certain hours or designating specific times for checking messages. Boundaries ensure that devices serve intentional purposes instead of dictating behavior. Communication is a critical part of boundary setting. Others cannot respect limits they do not know exist. Clearly communicating availability to colleagues, clients, or family members prevents misunderstandings and reduces pressure to respond immediately. Transparency builds respect and encourages healthier expectations. Boundaries are not signs of disengagement or lack of commitment. They signal professionalism, self-respect, and clarity. Physical separation reinforces mental boundaries. Creating distinct spaces for work and rest helps the mind associate each environment with specific behaviors. Even in small living spaces, simple adjustments such as using a specific desk or changing locations after work hours can make a significant difference. When work tools are put away at the end of the day, the brain receives a clear signal that it is time to disengage and recover. Consistency strengthens boundaries. Enforcing limits sporadically creates confusion and weakens discipline. When boundaries are maintained consistently, they become predictable and easier to uphold. The initial discomfort of enforcing limits fades as routines solidify. Over time, Both the individual and those around them adapt to the new structure, reducing friction and stress. Emotional discipline plays a major role in maintaining boundaries. Many people struggle with guilt when disconnecting from work or ignoring messages. This guilt often stems from fear of falling behind or disappointing others. Recognizing that rest and personal time are essential for sustained performance helps reframe this belief. Boundaries protect long-term effectiveness and prevent burnout. Choosing not to engage is sometimes the most responsible decision. Technology settings can support boundary enforcement. Tools such as scheduled focus modes, notification filters, and app usage limits reduce reliance on willpower alone. These settings create external support for internal decisions, making it easier to maintain discipline during moments of fatigue or temptation. Using technology intentionally to limit its own intrusion is a powerful act of self-control. Boundaries also apply to the type of work performed at different times. Demanding cognitive tasks should be reserved for periods of peak focus, while lighter tasks can fill lower energy moments. Respecting mental limits prevents overextension and improves output quality. Working longer hours does not compensate for working without clarity or energy. Personal time deserves the same protection as professional obligations. Activities such as rest, exercise, reflection, and connection should not be treated as optional leftovers. Scheduling personal time reinforces its value and ensures it is not overshadowed by work demands. When personal life is respected, motivation and satisfaction increase, creating a healthier relationship with work itself. Boundaries help redefine productivity. Productivity is not measured by constant availability or endless task completion. It is measured by meaningful progress and sustainable effort. Clear limits prevent the illusion of productivity created by constant activity without direction. Focused work within defined boundaries produces better results than scattered effort across unlimited hours. Resistance to boundaries often arises from habit rather than necessity. Many tasks feel urgent simply because immediate responses have become the norm. Questioning urgency helps differentiate between true priorities and conditioned reactions. Most messages can wait. Most tasks can be addressed within scheduled work time. Recognizing this truth reduces anxiety and reinforces confidence in boundary decisions. Reflection strengthens boundary awareness. Regularly evaluating how work and digital usage affect energy, mood, and focus reveals the benefits of clear limits. Reflection also highlights areas where boundaries need adjustment. This ongoing assessment ensures that boundaries evolve alongside responsibilities and personal needs. Boundaries protect not only time but also mental identity. When work dominates every moment, self-worth becomes tied solely to output. Clear separation allows space for other roles, interests, and values. This balance strengthens resilience and reduces the emotional impact of work-related stress. A well-rounded identity supports long-term stability and growth. The practice of setting boundaries requires courage. It involves prioritizing long-term health over short-term approval. It may require disappointing others temporarily to remain aligned with personal values. Over time, this courage builds self-respect and earns respect from others. Clear boundaries often inspire healthier behavior in those around us. Rest becomes deeper and more restorative when boundaries are respected. The mind can relax fully without anticipating interruptions. Sleep quality improves, emotional regulation strengthens, and creativity increases. These benefits reinforce the value of boundaries and motivate continued adherence. Work benefits directly from clear limits. Focused work periods become more productive when the mind knows rest will follow. Efficiency increases, decision-making improves, and errors decrease. Boundaries create a rhythm of effort and recovery that sustains high performance over time. Establishing boundaries is an ongoing practice, not a one-time decision. Life circumstances change, responsibilities shift, and new technologies emerge. Regular review ensures that limits remain relevant and effective. Flexibility within structure allows adaptation without sacrificing clarity. Ultimately, boundaries restore ownership of time and attention. They prevent external demands from dictating every moment and allow deliberate choices to guide daily life. By defining when to engage and when to disengage, the mind regains balance and strength. Clear boundaries for work and digital usage are acts of self-respect and wisdom. They protect focus, preserve energy, and support sustainable growth. Through consistent practice, communication, and reflection, boundaries become natural extensions of intentional living. They create space for meaningful work, genuine rest, and a life directed by purpose rather than constant demand. Chapter 7c. Practice mindful awareness while using digital tools daily. Practicing mindful awareness while using digital tools daily begins with understanding that technology itself is not the problem. The problem is unconscious use. Most people reach for their phones or open their laptops without a clear reason, driven by habit rather than intention. Mindful awareness interrupts this automatic behavior and replaces it with conscious choice. It brings the mind back into the present moment and restores control over attention, which is often scattered by constant digital stimulation. Mindfulness in digital use starts before the device is even touched. It begins with a pause. A brief moment of asking why the device is being used right now creates awareness. Is the purpose to complete a specific task, to communicate something meaningful, or simply to escape boredom or discomfort? This simple question shifts the mind from reaction to intention. Over time, this pause becomes a powerful habit that reduces unnecessary usage. Awareness continues during interaction with digital tools. Paying attention to posture, breathing, and mental state while using devices grounds the body and mind. Many people tense their shoulders, shallow their breathing, or narrow their focus excessively when engaging with screens. Noticing these physical responses allows gentle correction. Relaxing the body and breathing steadily keeps the nervous system balanced and prevents mental fatigue. Mindful awareness also involves observing emotional responses triggered by digital content. Notifications, messages, and media often provoke reactions such as anxiety, comparison, irritation, or excitement. Recognizing these emotions without immediately acting on them creates emotional distance. Instead of being pulled into impulsive responses, the individual gains space to choose how to react. This practice strengthens emotional regulation and reduces stress. Attention is a limited resource, and mindfulness helps protect it. While using digital tools, focusing on one task at a time prevents fragmentation. Multitasking often feels efficient, but actually weakens concentration and increases errors. Mindful single-tasking allows deeper engagement and higher quality output. It also shortens the time needed to complete tasks, freeing mental energy for other pursuits. Digital mindfulness includes awareness of time. Many people underestimate how long they spend on devices. Regularly checking the clock or setting intentional time limits brings clarity. Awareness of time passing prevents unintentional overuse and supports alignment with priorities. When time is used consciously, it feels more fulfilling and less draining. Language and tone in digital communication benefit from mindful attention. Reading messages carefully before responding reduces misunderstandings. Writing responses with clarity and respect improves relationships and prevents unnecessary conflict. Mindful communication recognizes that behind every screen is a human being with thoughts and emotions. This awareness fosters patience and empathy. Mindfulness encourages intentional transitions between digital tasks. Instead of jumping abruptly from one app or activity to another, pausing briefly between tasks resets attention. This pause reduces cognitive overload and maintains mental clarity. Transitions become moments of grounding rather than sources of stress. Digital tools often encourage constant consumption. Mindful awareness shifts the balance toward creation and purposeful engagement. Observing whether digital time is spent consuming passively or contributing actively reveals patterns. Choosing to create, learn, or solve problems strengthens a sense of agency and fulfillment. Awareness extends to the content being consumed. Not all information nourishes the mind. Mindful users notice how different types of content affect mood and energy. Content that leaves the mind agitated or depleted can be reduced or eliminated. Choosing material that informs, inspires, or educates supports mental well-being. Silence is an important aspect of mindful digital use. Allowing moments without sound, notifications, or visual input gives the mind space to rest. Even brief periods of silence between digital interactions restore balance. These pauses help prevent overstimulation and support deeper thinking. Mindful awareness also involves noticing urges. The impulse to check a device often arises from boredom, discomfort, or avoidance. Observing the urge without immediately acting on it weakens its power. Over time, urges become signals rather than commands. This practice strengthens self-discipline and self-awareness. The environment influences digital mindfulness. Using devices in calm, organized spaces supports focused attention. Chaotic environments increase distraction and stress. Adjusting lighting, reducing noise, and maintaining a clean workspace enhances mindful engagement with technology. Mindful awareness includes knowing when to stop. Recognizing signs of mental fatigue, eye strain, or irritability allows timely disengagement. Continuing beyond these signals reduces effectiveness and increases exhaustion. Stopping at the right moment preserves energy and maintains a healthy relationship with technology. Daily rituals support mindful digital use. Beginning digital sessions with a clear intention and ending them with a conscious closing action reinforces awareness. This could be as simple as stating the purpose internally or taking a deep breath before closing an application. Rituals create structure and meaning around digital habits. Mindfulness transforms how technology is perceived. Devices become tools rather than masters. They serve specific functions instead of dominating attention. This shift reduces dependency and increases confidence in one's ability to manage digital life effectively. Practicing mindful awareness requires patience. Habits formed over years do not change instantly. Gentle consistency is more effective than strict control. Each moment of awareness, even brief, strengthens the habit. Progress is measured by increased clarity and reduced reactivity, not perfection. Mindful digital use supports creativity. When attention is not constantly fragmented, ideas flow more freely. The mind gains space to connect thoughts and generate insights. Creativity thrives in environments where attention is respected and protected. Relationships improve through mindful technology use. Being fully present during conversations, whether digital or in person, deepens connection. Mindful users listen more carefully and respond more thoughtfully. This presence builds trust and understanding. Mental clarity is a natural outcome of mindful awareness. Reduced noise, intentional engagement, and emotional regulation create a calmer internal state. This clarity supports better decision-making and sustained focus across all areas of life. Mindfulness while using digital tools is not about rejection or restriction. It is about alignment. Technology aligns with values and goals rather than pulling attention in random directions. This alignment creates harmony between digital life and personal growth. Over time, mindful awareness becomes integrated into daily routines. The pause before use, the focus during engagement, and the conscious stopping point become second nature. Digital tools are used with confidence and purpose rather than compulsion. Practicing mindful awareness while using digital tools daily is a powerful act of self-leadership. It restores attention, strengthens emotional balance, and supports intentional living. Through consistent awareness, technology becomes an ally rather than a distraction, serving growth, clarity, and meaningful progress. Chapter 80. Track your screen time to uncover hidden patterns. Tracking screen time is not about guilt or judgment. It is about truth. Most people believe they know how they spend their time, yet the mind often hides patterns that are uncomfortable to face. Digital habits grow quietly. Minutes turn into hours without notice. Tracking brings those invisible behaviors into clear view, and clarity is the foundation of change. When screen time is not measured, it controls attention silently. The day feels busy, yet little feels accomplished. Energy fades, focus weakens, and motivation drops, but the cause remains unclear. Tracking removes that confusion. It shows exactly where attention goes and how often it is pulled away from meaningful tasks. Awareness replaces guesswork with facts. The first benefit of tracking is honesty. Numbers do not argue. They do not justify or excuse. They simply reflect reality. Seeing how many hours are spent on certain apps or activities often creates a moment of awakening. This moment is not meant to shame. It is meant to empower. Once reality is seen clearly, responsibility naturally follows. Hidden patterns often reveal emotional triggers. Screen time spikes usually appear during stress, boredom, loneliness, or avoidance. Tracking across several days highlights these emotional connections. It becomes clear that digital use is not random. It is often a response to internal discomfort. Recognizing this pattern allows healthier responses to replace automatic scrolling. Tracking also exposes time leaks. Short, frequent checks add up. A few minutes here and there can consume hours by the end of the day. These small interruptions fragment attention and reduce deep focus. Seeing the total time spent reveals how much potential is being lost to brief distractions. Patterns across different times of day become visible. Morning use may differ from evening habits. Some people are most distracted early, others late at night. Tracking shows when focus is strongest and when it weakens. This information allows better planning. Important tasks can be placed during high focus periods, and digital boundaries can be strengthened during low focus times. Screen time tracking also reveals which digital tools add value and which drain energy. Some apps support learning, communication, or productivity. Others exist purely to capture attention. Seeing the difference helps refine choices. Time can be shifted toward tools that support growth rather than those that leave the mind tired and scattered. Consistency matters more than duration when tracking. A single day provides limited insight. Patterns emerge over time. Tracking for a week or more creates a clearer picture of habits. This extended view prevents emotional reactions based on isolated days and supports rational decision-making. The act of tracking itself changes behavior. Awareness alters choices even before intentional changes are made. Knowing that screen time is being observed increases mindfulness. The mind pauses more often before opening an app. This pause weakens impulsive habits naturally. Tracking should remain simple. Overcomplication creates resistance. Built-in screen time tools or basic logs are enough. The goal is insight, not perfection. Simplicity ensures consistency, and consistency leads to clarity. Reviewing tracked data requires calm reflection. Numbers should be observed with curiosity rather than criticism. The question is not why discipline failed, but what patterns are present. This mindset supports learning instead of self-blame. Growth happens faster when judgment is removed. Tracking highlights the relationship between screen time and mental state. Heavy usage often correlates with low energy, irritability, or restlessness. Lighter usage aligns with clarity and calm. Seeing this connection reinforces motivation to change. The mind learns through experience more than instruction. Tracking also uncovers progress. Reduction in unnecessary usage becomes visible over time. Small improvements accumulate. Seeing positive change builds confidence and reinforces discipline. Progress that is measured feels real and encouraging. Hidden habits often involve background usage. Screens are used while eating, resting, or transitioning between tasks. Tracking brings attention to these moments. Once noticed, they can be replaced with rest, reflection, or presence. This shift improves both mental health and daily satisfaction. Tracking supports intentional goal setting. Once patterns are clear, realistic limits can be established. Goals become grounded in reality rather than wishful thinking. This practicality increases success and reduces frustration. Digital use often feels harmless because it is normalized. Tracking breaks that normalization. It treats attention as a valuable resource worthy of protection. This shift in perspective strengthens self-respect and personal responsibility. The Stoic approach to tracking emphasizes control over what is within reach. External demands exist, but personal choices remain. Tracking focuses attention on controllable behaviors. It removes excuses and strengthens agency. Tracking also reveals alignment or misalignment with values. Time reflects priorities. If digital usage dominates while important goals remain untouched, the conflict becomes clear. This awareness encourages realignment. Life moves closer to what truly matters. Sharing tracked insights privately through reflection deepens understanding. Writing brief observations about daily usage strengthens learning. This practice turns data into wisdom. Patterns become lessons rather than numbers. Tracking should evolve over time. Initial focus may be on total hours. Later, attention can shift to quality and purpose. This progression mirrors personal growth. Awareness deepens as discipline strengthens. Digital tracking teaches patience. Change does not happen overnight. Habits adjust gradually. Tracking provides guidance during this process. It shows what works and what does not, allowing steady refinement. The ultimate purpose of tracking is freedom. Freedom from unconscious habits, freedom from constant distraction, freedom to choose how attention is used. Numbers are not chains. They are tools for liberation. When screen time is tracked consistently, digital behavior becomes intentional. The mind regains authority over attention. Days feel longer, focus sharpens, and energy stabilizes. Life becomes less reactive and more deliberate. Tracking screen time is an act of self-respect. It signals that attention matters. It supports clarity, discipline, and long-term growth. By uncovering hidden patterns, the individual gains the power to redesign daily life with intention and purpose. Chapter 9c. Design a simple morning routine without technology. A simple morning routine without technology restores control at the very start of the day. The first moments after waking are when the mind is most open and impressionable. Whatever enters during this time shapes mood, focus, and direction for hours ahead. When a screen becomes the first point of contact, the mind is immediately pulled outward into noise, demands, and comparison. Removing technology from the morning is not about rejection, it is about protection. Waking without reaching for a device allows the mind to remain calm instead of reactive. The body wakes naturally and the nervous system stays steady. There is no rush of alerts, no sudden problems to solve, no emotional spikes from news or messages. This creates a sense of internal space. That space is where clarity begins. A technology-free morning starts with intention the night before. Devices should be placed outside the bedroom or at least out of reach. This single choice removes temptation. Discipline becomes easier when the environment supports it. The mind is not forced to fight habits when habits are no longer triggered. The first action after waking should be simple and physical. Standing up, stretching lightly, or walking to a window grounds awareness in the body. Physical movement signals the brain that the day has begun. This helps dissolve grogginess and builds presence without stimulation. Breathing slowly for a few minutes settles the mind. Deep, steady breaths activate calm and sharpen awareness. This practice requires nothing except attention. It creates a sense of control before the world makes demands. Breath becomes an anchor that stabilizes the morning. Hydration is another grounding act. Drinking water upon waking supports the body after hours of rest. It is a quiet act of care. This small habit builds respect for the body and sets a tone of self-discipline. Silence plays an important role in a screen-free morning. Silence allows thoughts to surface naturally. Some thoughts are useful, some are not, but all provide information. Observing them without judgment strengthens self-awareness. This practice prevents unconscious reactions later in the day. Reflection can follow naturally. This does not require writing or analysis. A few moments of considering the day ahead is enough. Asking what truly matters today brings focus. This question aligns actions with values rather than urgency. Light movement such as walking, stretching, or gentle exercise further clears mental fog. Movement improves circulation and sharpens attention. It also releases stored tension from sleep. The goal is not intensity but consistency. A morning routine without technology creates space for reading physical material if desired. A few pages of a book that supports growth can replace endless scrolling. This input nourishes the mind rather than fragmenting it. The content chosen shapes thinking patterns for the rest of the day. Nature contact enhances clarity. Stepping outside, briefly observing light air and surroundings resets mental rhythms. Even a few minutes of exposure reduces stress and increases alertness. Nature offers grounding without demanding attention. Order within the physical environment supports order in the mind. Making the bed, tidying a small area, or preparing the space reinforces discipline. These actions are simple yet powerful. They build momentum through completion. A technology-free morning also supports emotional regulation. Without external input, emotions are not stirred unnecessarily. The mind remains steady rather than reactive. This stability improves decision-making later when challenges arise. Consistency matters more than length. A routine does not need to be long. Even 15 minutes without technology can change the quality of the entire day. The value lies in repetition. Daily practice strengthens the habit and deepens its effects. The Stoic approach values mastery over impulse. Avoiding screens in the morning is an act of self-command. It demonstrates that attention is guided by choice rather than habit. This strengthens confidence and inner authority. Over time, this routine reshapes identity. The individual becomes someone who starts the day deliberately. This self-image supports further disciplined choices. Habits reinforce character, and character reinforces habits. Mental clarity improves as the brain learns to wake without stimulation. Focus becomes sharper and less dependent on external input. Creativity increases as the mind has space to wander constructively. Stress decreases because the day begins calmly. A screen-free morning also improves relationships. Entering interactions with a centered mind leads to better listening and patience. The tone set internally influences all external exchanges. There may be resistance at first. Habitual urges to check devices can feel strong. Observing these urges without acting on them builds strength. Each resisted urge weakens the habit. This is how discipline is trained. The purpose of a simple morning routine is not productivity alone. It is alignment. Alignment between values, actions, and attention. When mornings are calm, days become intentional. Technology can still serve later in the day. Removing it from the morning simply places it in its proper role. Tools are used rather than allowed to dictate behavior. This restores balance. Designing a simple morning routine without technology is an investment. It requires little time but yields lasting clarity, focus, and control. It is a quiet practice with powerful results. By protecting the beginning of the day, the rest of the day follows with greater ease, purpose, and strength. Chapter 10. Limit social media usage to protect your energy. Limiting social media usage begins with recognizing a simple truth that many avoid. Attention is energy. Whatever repeatedly pulls attention also pulls energy. Social media platforms are designed to capture focus continuously, not occasionally. They compete for mental space through endless updates, emotional triggers, and constant novelty. Without limits, this steady pull drains clarity, patience, and motivation, often without the user noticing until exhaustion sets in. Energy loss from social media rarely feels dramatic. It is subtle. After scrolling, the mind often feels restless rather than satisfied. Focus weakens, motivation drops, tasks feel heavier. This happens because the brain processes large amounts of emotional and informational input in a short time. Even when content seems harmless, the volume and speed create fatigue. Limiting usage protects energy by reducing unnecessary mental load. Social media also fragments emotional stability. Exposure to opinions, conflicts, comparisons, and curated images creates internal noise. The mind reacts constantly, shifting between emotions without rest. Over time, this reactivity weakens emotional control. Limiting exposure restores calm by reducing the number of emotional triggers entering the mind each day. Protection begins with awareness of purpose. Social media can be useful when used intentionally for learning, communication, or professional growth. Problems arise when usage becomes automatic. Opening apps without a clear reason leads to extended sessions that offer little value. Setting a purpose before use filters behavior. If no purpose exists, the app does not need to be opened. Time boundaries are essential. Unlimited access invites overuse. Fixed windows of usage create structure. This structure reduces impulsive checking and preserves energy for meaningful tasks. Boundaries do not require strict schedules. Even loose limits are effective when respected consistently. Removing social media from certain parts of the day protects mental rhythm. Early mornings and late evenings are especially sensitive. During these times, the mind is either setting direction or winding down. Social media during these periods disrupts focus and rest. Keeping these moments free preserves clarity and improves emotional balance. Another form of protection involves reducing exposure rather than eliminating access. Unfollowing accounts that provoke negativity, comparison, or agitation reduces emotional strain. Curating content based on value rather than entertainment shifts the experience. The mind becomes less reactive and more selective. Notifications play a major role in energy loss. Each alert interrupts thought and resets focus. Turning off non-essential notifications reduces mental fragmentation. Without constant interruptions, attention stays intact longer. This single change often leads to noticeable improvements in calm and productivity. Limiting social media also strengthens self-discipline. Choosing not to check an app despite the urge builds internal strength. Each resisted impulse reinforces control. Over time, urges lose intensity. The mind learns that it does not need constant stimulation to feel engaged. Energy protection includes recognizing emotional motives behind usage. Social media is often used to escape discomfort, boredom, or uncertainty. Limiting usage reveals these moments clearly. When the app is not available, the underlying emotion surfaces. Addressing the emotion directly is healthier than masking it with scrolling. Comparisons are one of the largest drains on energy. Social media highlights curated success and filtered moments. Even when users understand this intellectually, emotional responses still occur. Limiting exposure reduces comparison and preserves self-respect. Confidence grows when attention shifts inward rather than outward. Limiting usage improves focus by reducing mental residue. After heavy scrolling, thoughts linger on unrelated information. This residue interferes with deep work and reflection. Less exposure means fewer lingering thoughts and faster mental recovery. Energy protection also improves physical well-being. Extended scrolling often leads to poor posture, eye strain, and shallow breathing. Reducing usage encourages movement and awareness of the body. Physical comfort supports mental clarity. Social relationships benefit from limits. Online interaction can never fully replace real presence. Excessive usage weakens attention during conversations and shared moments. Limiting social media restores presence and deepens connection with others. There is also a moral dimension to limiting usage. Attention is finite. How it is spent shapes character. Choosing where to place attention is an ethical act toward oneself. Protecting energy is an act of self-respect and responsibility. Limiting does not mean cutting off from the world. It means choosing engagement rather than being consumed by it. Information can still be accessed deliberately. The difference lies in control. Control preserves energy. Resistance to limits often reveals dependency. Feeling uneasy without checking indicates attachment. This awareness is valuable. It highlights areas where discipline can grow. Growth begins where discomfort is faced calmly. Gradual reduction often works better than sudden removal. Small changes reduce resistance and support consistency. Progress becomes sustainable. Energy returns steadily rather than abruptly. As social media usage decreases, silence increases. Silence may feel unfamiliar at first. Over time, it becomes restorative. The mind gains space to process thoughts and emotions. Creativity and insight emerge more easily. Limiting usage also improves sleep quality. Reduced evening exposure lowers mental stimulation. The nervous system relaxes more easily. Better sleep restores energy naturally. The Stoic approach emphasizes mastery over impulse and acceptance of what lies outside control. Social media often amplifies external concerns. Limiting usage brings attention back to what can be controlled. This shift strengthens inner stability. Protecting energy through limits leads to clearer priorities. Time once lost becomes available. That time can support learning, rest, movement, or reflection. Life feels fuller because attention is invested wisely. Limiting social media usage is not a rejection of modern tools. It is a declaration of ownership over attention. Energy is preserved by intention rather than force. This choice builds resilience and focus. Over time, the mind becomes calmer and more grounded. Emotional swings reduce. Focus deepens. Energy lasts longer throughout the day. These benefits reinforce the habit naturally. Limiting social media is a daily practice of self-leadership. It protects energy, strengthens discipline, and supports long-term growth. Attention becomes a tool rather than a vulnerability. By choosing limits, the individual chooses clarity, stability, and purpose. Chapter 11. Develop self-discipline to resist impulsive digital habits. Developing self-discipline to resist impulsive digital habits begins with accepting a simple reality. Impulses are natural. Acting on every impulse is optional. Digital tools exploit automatic reactions, not conscious decisions. Each swipe, tap, and refresh is engineered to shorten the gap between urge and action. Self-discipline restores that gap. In that space, choice lives. Impulsive digital habits are rarely about the device itself. They are about relief. Relief from boredom, discomfort, uncertainty, or effort. The mind seeks ease when pressure appears. Digital escape offers immediate comfort with no effort required. Recognizing this truth removes confusion. The habit is not weakness. It is an untrained response. Self-discipline does not mean force or denial. It means training the mind to pause. The pause is the most powerful skill in resisting impulse. When the urge to check a device appears, noticing it without acting breaks the automatic loop. Even a few seconds of delay weakens the habit. Over time, this pause becomes natural. Awareness of triggers strengthens discipline. Impulses often arise during specific moments. Waiting in line, switching tasks, feeling mentally tired, or avoiding a difficult action. Observing these moments reveals patterns. Once patterns are known, preparation becomes possible. Discipline improves when surprises are removed. The body plays a role in impulse control. Fatigue, hunger, and stress lower resistance. Caring for physical needs supports mental strength. Adequate rest, nourishment, and movement reduce the intensity of urges. Discipline is not just mental. It is supported by physical stability. Environment shapes behavior more than motivation. Devices placed within easy reach invite impulsive use. Simple changes reduce temptation. Keeping phones out of sight, disabling quick access, or using physical barriers increases the effort required to act on impulse. When effort increases, impulsive behavior decreases naturally. Clarity of purpose strengthens discipline. When the mind knows what it is protecting, resistance becomes meaningful. A clear reason for limiting digital use turns discipline into commitment. Protecting focus, time, or peace provides motivation rooted in values rather than guilt. Self-discipline grows through small wins. Attempting total control often leads to frustration. Choosing manageable challenges builds confidence. Resisting one impulse at a time trains the mind gradually. Each success reinforces belief in self-control. Language matters internally. Speaking to oneself with respect supports discipline. Harsh self-talk weakens resolve. Calm reminders reinforce intention. The mind responds better to guidance than criticism. Impulses lose power when observed without judgment. Labeling the urge simply as an impulse reduces identification with it. The mind learns that urges come and go. Acting is not required for relief. This understanding builds patience. Replacing impulsive habits with intentional alternatives supports change. When the urge appears, choosing a simple grounding action redirects attention. Standing up, breathing slowly, or shifting focus interrupts the habit loop. The replacement does not need to be complex. It needs to be immediate. Discipline improves when expectations are realistic. Perfection is not required. Progress matters. Occasional lapses are part of learning. Responding to lapses calmly prevents discouragement. Consistency over time reshapes behavior more effectively than intensity. Time awareness supports impulse resistance. Many impulsive checks occur during transitions. Being conscious during these moments prevents mindless behavior. Transitions become opportunities for awareness rather than weakness. Digital impulses often promise quick relief but deliver lingering restlessness. Remembering this outcome strengthens resistance. The mind learns through experience. Reflecting on how impulsive use feels afterward reinforces discipline naturally. Self-discipline benefits from structure. Clear rules reduce decision fatigue. Deciding in advance when and how devices are used removes daily negotiation. Fewer decisions mean fewer impulses acted upon. Discipline is also strengthened by identity. Seeing oneself as someone who values control over attention shapes behavior. Identity-driven habits last longer than willpower-based ones. Each discipline choice reinforces this identity. Silence supports discipline. Constant stimulation weakens impulse control. Allowing moments of quiet trains the mind to tolerate stillness. Over time, the urge for constant input fades. Reflection deepens learning. Brief daily reflection on digital behavior highlights progress and challenges. Awareness strengthens discipline by turning experience into insight. The Stoic approach emphasizes control over internal responses rather than external circumstances. Digital impulses are internal events. They do not command action. Choosing not to react is an exercise of freedom. Discipline grows through repetition. Each resisted impulse strengthens neural pathways of control. The mind becomes trained through practice rather than instruction. Patience is essential. Habits formed over years require time to change. Expecting immediate mastery creates unnecessary pressure. Calm persistence leads to lasting change. As discipline strengthens, impulsive habits lose intensity. Urges still appear but feel less urgent. The mind gains space. Attention stabilizes. Focus deepens. Resisting impulsive digital habits is not about restriction. It is about liberation. Freedom from constant reaction restores dignity and calm. Self-discipline is a skill. Skills improve with practice. Each moment of awareness contributes to mastery. Over time, discipline becomes natural rather than forced. Digital tools are used intentionally. Impulses are noticed without control. Attention returns to chosen priorities. Developing self-discipline to resist impulsive digital habits builds inner strength that extends beyond technology. It improves focus, patience, and confidence. This discipline supports growth in every area of life. Chapter 12. Create an evening ritual to disconnect from devices. Creating an evening ritual to disconnect from devices is an act of respect toward the mind. The hours before sleep are not neutral. They prepare the nervous system for rest or keep it alert long after the day has ended. When screens dominate this time, the mind remains engaged, reactive, and scattered. An intentional evening ritual restores calm and signals closure. It marks a clear transition from activity to rest. The evening ritual begins with a decision to end digital engagement at a specific point. Without a clear endpoint, devices remain available and tempting. Choosing a consistent cutoff time reduces negotiation with oneself. This choice protects mental energy and reduces overstimulation. Disconnecting does not mean abrupt removal. It means gradual slowing. Just as the body benefits from cooling down after movement, the mind benefits from a gentle reduction in stimulation. Ending demanding digital tasks first allows attention to settle naturally. Physical actions support this transition. Changing lighting to softer tones reduces alertness. Tidying a small area creates order and signals completion. These actions communicate safety and closure to the nervous system. Placing devices out of immediate reach reinforces intention. Distance weakens habit. When devices are no longer within arm's reach, impulsive checking decreases. This simple environmental change supports discipline without force. Evening rituals benefit from predictability. Repeating the same sequence trains the mind to associate certain actions with rest. Over time, this consistency triggers relaxation automatically. The mind learns what to expect. Reflection fits naturally into this period. Quietly reviewing the day without judgment allows unresolved thoughts to surface and release. This does not require analysis. Simply acknowledging experiences brings closure. The mind rests more easily when it feels heard. Reading physical material offers a calm alternative to screens. The slower pace reduces mental stimulation. The absence of notifications allows attention to remain steady. This supports deeper relaxation. Breathing practices deepen the disconnect. Slow, controlled breaths signal the body to relax. Breathing anchors attention in the present moment and reduces mental chatter. This practice requires no equipment and offers immediate calm. The ritual may include light stretching or gentle movement. This releases physical tension accumulated during the day. Relaxed muscles support mental rest. Movement becomes a signal of care rather than effort. Writing briefly can also support closure. Recording thoughts or intentions clears mental residue. This prevents unresolved concerns from resurfacing at bedtime. The mind rests more peacefully when worries are acknowledged earlier. Evening rituals protect sleep quality. Reduced screen exposure lowers mental stimulation and supports natural rhythms. Better sleep improves focus, discipline, and emotional balance the following day. The benefits extend far beyond the evening itself. Emotional regulation improves through disconnection. Social media and digital communication often introduce late emotional triggers. Removing these inputs reduces agitation and comparison. The mind remains calmer. The Stoic perspective values preparation. Evening rituals prepare the mind for rest and the next day. Rest is not laziness, it is maintenance. Without it, discipline weakens. Resistance may appear initially. Habits resist change. Observing this resistance calmly reduces its power. Each evening without devices strengthens resolve. The ritual does not need to be long. Even 20 minutes of intentional disconnection creates noticeable change. Length is less important than consistency. Flexibility supports sustainability. The ritual should adapt to life circumstances. Rigidity creates frustration. A flexible ritual maintains intention without pressure. Disconnecting in the evening strengthens self-trust. Each completed ritual reinforces confidence in self-control. Confidence supports future discipline. The ritual also improves relationships. Presence increases when devices are removed. Conversations deepen. Attention feels fuller over time. Evenings become quieter internally. Thoughts slow. The mind recovers from stimulation. This calm carries into sleep. Disconnecting from devices in the evening is not about missing out. It is about gaining rest, clarity, and stability. What is gained outweighs what is avoided. Evening rituals create boundaries. Boundaries protect energy. Protected energy supports growth. As the ritual becomes habitual, effort decreases. What once required discipline becomes natural. Creating an evening ritual to disconnect from devices restores balance. It honors the need for rest and reflection. Through consistent practice, evenings become a source of renewal rather than depletion. This ritual strengthens clarity, discipline, and long-term focus. Chapter 13. Engage in deep focused work without digital interruptions. Engaging in deep focused work without digital interruptions requires a shift in how attention is respected. Focus is not something that appears on command. It is something that must be protected. Modern digital environments constantly compete for attention, fragmenting thought before it has time to settle. Deep work begins when the mind is allowed to stay with one task long enough to think clearly and work meaningfully. The first step toward deep focus is understanding that interruptions are costly. Each time attention is pulled away, the mind must restart. This restart consumes energy and weakens momentum. Even brief interruptions leave mental residue that lingers and slows progress. Removing interruptions is not about comfort. It is about efficiency and quality. Deep work requires a deliberate decision to prioritize depth over availability. Being constantly reachable trains the mind to expect interruption. Choosing periods of unavailability restores authority over attention. This choice is not selfish. It is necessary for producing meaningful results. Environment plays a central role in focus. A workspace designed for concentration reduces friction. Clearing unnecessary items removes visual noise. Silence or steady background sound supports sustained attention. A simple environment allows the mind to settle rather than scan for distraction. Devices must be managed intentionally. Notifications fragment thought even when ignored. Turning them off during focused sessions removes temptation and reduces mental tension. The mind relaxes when it knows it will not be interrupted unexpectedly. Deep focus improves when tasks are clearly defined. Vague goals invite wandering attention. Clear objectives give the mind direction. Knowing exactly what needs to be done reduces uncertainty and increases engagement. Time boundaries support depth. Open-ended sessions invite distraction. Setting a defined window for focused work creates urgency and commitment. During this time, attention is devoted fully to one task. When the session ends, rest follows. This balance preserves energy. Starting is often the hardest part. Resistance appears before depth is reached. The mind seeks easier stimulation. Remaining with the task despite discomfort allows focus to deepen naturally. This initial resistance fades when attention stabilizes. Single tasking is essential. Multitasking divides attention and weakens output. Choosing one task at a time allows full engagement. Quality improves when attention is not split. Physical posture influences focus. Sitting upright with relaxed shoulders supports alertness. Shallow breathing reduces oxygen and clarity. Deep, steady breaths improve mental endurance. The body supports the mind. Deep work also requires patience. Results do not appear instantly. The mind needs time to explore ideas fully. Rushing breaks depth. Allowing thoughts to develop leads to insight and creativity. Digital interruptions often come from internal urges rather than external alerts. The impulse to check a device arises when the task becomes challenging. Recognizing this impulse without acting on it strengthens discipline. The urge passes when ignored. Preparation increases success. Planning focus sessions in advance reduces decision fatigue. When the time arrives, the mind knows what to do. Preparation removes excuses. Energy management matters. Deep work requires mental fuel. Attempting depth while exhausted leads to frustration. Choosing times of day when energy is higher improves results. Respecting limits preserves motivation. Breaks support sustained depth. Short intentional breaks restore attention. These breaks should avoid digital stimulation. Movement or stillness works better than scrolling. The mind returns refreshed rather than overloaded. The Stoic mindset values mastery over distraction. External noise exists, but internal control remains possible. Choosing to focus despite temptation is an exercise of strength. Each focused session builds resilience. Deep work strengthens confidence. Completing meaningful tasks reinforces belief in capability. This confidence supports future discipline and ambition. Emotional regulation supports focus. Anxiety and frustration weaken attention. Accepting difficulty without resistance calms the mind. Calm attention lasts longer. Deep focus improves learning. The mind absorbs information more effectively when undistracted. Understanding deepens. Memory strengthens. Skill development accelerates. Creativity thrives in uninterrupted space. New ideas emerge when the mind has room to connect thoughts. Constant interruption blocks this process. Depth allows originality. Digital boundaries must be firm during focused work. Partial restrictions invite temptation. Full separation simplifies discipline. The mind relaxes when the decision is clear. Consistency builds focus as a skill. Regular deep work sessions train the mind to enter focus more easily. What once required effort becomes natural. Reflection after focused work reinforces learning. Briefly noting what worked improves future sessions. Awareness sharpens discipline. Deep work also improves satisfaction. Completing tasks with full attention feels rewarding. The sense of progress replaces the emptiness of shallow activity. Over time, deep focus reshapes identity. One becomes someone who values depth and clarity. This identity guides behavior naturally. Engaging in deep, focused work without digital interruptions is not about isolation. It is about choosing when to connect and when to concentrate. This balance restores productivity and meaning. Focus is a form of respect for time, effort, and potential. Protecting it allows the mind to operate at its highest level. Through deliberate boundaries, patience, and consistency, deep work becomes a reliable practice. Digital noise loses power. Attention strengthens. Meaningful progress becomes possible. Chapter 14: Reconnect with nature to refresh your mental energy. Stepping into nature is a direct way to restore mental energy and reclaim clarity that gets eaten away by constant demands. The human mind was shaped to respond to natural patterns of light, sound, and movement, and when it is reconnected with those patterns, thinking becomes steadier, emotions settle, and creativity returns. This reconnection does not require a trip to a remote wilderness. It begins with deliberate attention to living things, light, air, and the physical world around you. The aim is not escape but recovery, and a reliable method for returning to work and life with renewed energy and sharper focus. Begin by making nature accessible in small, practical ways. Identify 3 locations within easy reach that feel calming. This could be a local park, a tree-lined street, a community garden, the banks of a river, or even a quiet green courtyard. Distance and difficulty do not increase benefit as much as regularity does. Commit to visiting one of these places at least 3 times during the coming week. The point is to make contact with real living systems on a predictable schedule so the nervous system learns where to find restoration. When in nature, pay attention with all senses. Sight is the obvious entry, but listening, smelling, touching, and even subtle tastes matter. Take a slow walk and deliberately notice textures underfoot, the quality of light through leaves, the pattern of bird calls, and the smell of soil or grass. Move more slowly than usual so that perception widens. This sensory richness interrupts automatic thought loops and gives the brain varied input that supports attention restoration. Practicing this form of sensory attention for 15 to 30 minutes produces measurable improvement in mood and concentration. Try a focused breathing practice outdoors. Stand or sit comfortably and inhale, counting slowly to 4, hold for a count of 2, and exhale for a count of 5. Repeat this cycle for 3 to 5 minutes while keeping attention on bodily sensations and external sounds. The combination of natural air and intentional breathing lowers physiological arousal, reduces the grip of anxious thoughts, and increases clarity. Doing this practice before starting a demanding task is a quick and effective reset. Forest bathing is not mystical. It is simply the act of immersing in a green environment with gentle attention. Walking without a destination and resisting the urge to achieve something while noticing trees, moss, and shifting shadows trains the mind to be present. Select one longer period each month for extended immersion, an hour or two without devices. Allow curiosity rather than objectives to guide the walk. Many people report that ideas that were stuck begin to resolve during these slow receptive periods. Bring nature into daily routines. Keep a small plant on a desk, rotate fresh-cut greenery through common rooms, and take brief sunlight breaks. Sunlight exposure early in the day helps regulate circadian rhythms, which in turn improves energy levels and mental clarity. If access to natural light is limited, create predictable outdoor pauses. 5 minutes of standing in sunlight in the morning and 5 minutes in the afternoon will change how the day feels. These micro doses add up. Practice grounding with cold or warm sensations. Place bare feet on grass, soil, or a smooth stone for a few minutes and notice the feeling. Alternately run hands through a fountain or under cold water and observe the immediate change in attention and mood. Grounding pulls the mind out of ruminative loops and into present experience. Keep these grounding practices short and frequent. 2 minutes repeated several times a day creates a cumulative calming effect. Designate one work session per week to be done outdoors when possible. Bring a notebook to a bench or a coat to the lawn and work for a concentrated block of time. The slight change of environment combined with natural stimuli reorients the mind and often accelerates problem solving because the brain is allowed different inputs and fewer artificial interruptions. If the weather or setting prevents this, choose an indoor spot with a strong view of trees or sky and recreate the conditions as closely as possible. Gardening is a high-return practice for mental energy. Tending soil, planting, pruning, and watching seasonal changes creates a slow feedback loop of care and reward. Even a small container garden on a balcony provides a purposeful activity that connects effort to visible growth. Gardening combines mild physical activity with sensory immersion and fosters patience and perspective, which are both valuable for long-term focus. Replace a portion of passive screen time with active outdoor change. Instead of scrolling during breaks, take a 10-minute walk outside and count how many different green hues or bird species appear. Active exploration engages curiosity and increases dopamine in healthier ways than passive feeds. Over weeks, this substitution rewires break habits and restores attention more reliably than brief naps or caffeine alone. Use nature as a problem-solving tool. When stuck on a complex issue, deliberately step outside and pose the question aloud or in a notebook. Walk without forcing a solution and notice when a new angle arrives. The mind often reaches synthesis when it is freed from the expectation of producing immediate answers. Trust that a short natural immersion can accelerate insight more than longer indoor effort sometimes does. Pay attention to timing. Natural exposure has different benefits at different times of day. Morning sunlight prepares the brain for alert work. Midday outdoor movement breaks fatigue and restores focus. Evening time among gentle light and cooling air prepares the nervous system for restorative sleep. Map these benefits to your daily schedule and place nature when it supports your needs. This simple alignment improves energy management across the day. Avoid turning nature into another performance metric. The practice is not about checking an item off a list, but about consistent contact. If one day becomes a rushed visit, accept it and continue the practice the next day. Gentle consistency beats sporadic intensity. Over months, these small, steady interactions change baseline mood and cognitive capacity. Include social nature activities when appropriate. Walking with a friend without showing phones or joining a local volunteer gardening group combines the benefits of presence with social support. Shared natural activities strengthen bonds and reduce the temptation to reach for devices. Keep social nature time focused on connection rather than documentation. Resist the urge to photograph every moment. Presence is the better currency. Measure effects with a simple log. After each nature session, note in a small journal how your mood, attention, and energy feel on a scale of 1 to 10 and write a 1-line observation. Over several weeks, patterns will emerge and the quantitative feedback will reinforce the habit. This practice keeps the relationship with nature intentional rather than incidental. Bring nature into cognitive recovery after heavy mental work. When deep focus leaves the brain depleted, do a 20-minute outdoor walk rather than switching to light digital tasks. The change in stimulation supports recovery from cognitive load and maintains productivity later in the day. Using nature as a restorative strategy increases sustainable output without depleting emotional reserves. For urban dwellers with limited greenery, seek out pocket parks, riverfronts, or rooftop gardens, and use public transit routes that pass through green corridors. Even small exposures in urban settings produce measurable effects on stress and attention. If green access is severely limited, prioritize houseplants and window views while working to increase outdoor time during weekends. Small investments in access pay large returns in mental energy. Respect seasonal conditions and adapt practices accordingly. In colder months, prioritize sunlight and sheltered green spaces and increase indoor plant interaction. In warmer months, schedule longer sessions earlier to avoid heat stress. Flexibility maintains continuity throughout the year and prevents the practice from collapsing when weather changes. Reconnect with nature not as an indulgence but as a daily tool for mental maintenance. The benefits are practical, measurable, and accessible. Regular natural contact reduces stress, improves attention, enhances creativity, and supports emotional balance. These outcomes strengthen the ability to resist distraction and maintain focused effort when it matters. Commit to a simple plan. Choose accessible green spaces, set a minimum frequency, and use sensory-focused practices during each visit. Track results and adjust timing according to needs. With this approach, nature becomes part of the architecture of attention rather than an occasional retreat. Mental energy is replenished. Clarity returns. Tasks feel more manageable and life regains a rhythmic balance that supports steady progress. Chapter 15. Use digital tools intentionally to enhance productivity only. Using digital tools intentionally to enhance productivity begins with recognizing their true role as instruments rather than drivers of action. Technology is neutral. It has no inherent value unless applied with purpose. The challenge lies not in the tools themselves, but in how attention is allocated. Unchecked usage leads to distraction, fragmentation, and wasted energy. Intentional use requires conscious boundaries, clear objectives, and disciplined execution. Start by clarifying the exact outcome desired from each tool. Before opening an app or turning on a device, ask what problem you intend to solve or what task will be completed. This eliminates vague engagement and forces alignment between action and goal. The mind becomes trained to associate tools with efficiency rather than entertainment or habit. When objectives are absent, the tool is not required. Categorize tools according to their productivity impact. Email, scheduling, project management, and note-taking apps serve functional purposes. Social media, entertainment apps, and unnecessary notifications drain attention. Place functional tools in a high-priority category and limit or remove non-essential applications from immediate access. This structural approach prevents accidental drift into time-wasting activities. Create specific time blocks for tool usage. Instead of sporadically opening a calendar or messaging platform, assign dedicated periods. For example, email can be checked twice daily with fixed start and end times. Messaging apps can be monitored at intervals rather than continuously. Structured timing prevents constant context switching and conserves mental energy. Disable unnecessary notifications. Each alert interrupts flow even when it seems trivial. When only essential notifications remain, the mind experiences fewer involuntary disruptions. Reduced interruptions allow for deeper engagement in work and decision-making. Alerts should exist to serve tasks rather than demand attention. Develop habits around tool use. Open productivity apps only when aligned with defined goals. Close them immediately after completing the task. Avoid leaving apps running in the background where they can tempt mindless interaction. This creates a clean digital workspace that mirrors physical organization. Habits reinforce intention automatically over time. Leverage automation strategically. Repetitive digital tasks such as calendar reminders, file sorting, or message filtering can be automated. Automation reduces cognitive load and frees attention for higher-level work. However, automation should be applied selectively to avoid unnecessary complexity. The goal is less cognitive friction and more deliberate action. Practice periodic digital audits. Regularly review which apps and platforms are contributing to productivity and which are consuming energy without value. Remove or restrict low-value tools to prevent clutter. Auditing keeps your digital environment aligned with current goals and priorities. What was once useful may become a distraction if circumstances change. Use tools for accountability rather than entertainment. Project management apps, goal trackers, and habit trackers provide measurable feedback. Digital input should inform action, not replace it. Data without application is wasted energy. Each tool should have a clear functional purpose and a measurable output. Combine digital usage with offline planning. Outline tasks physically or in a simple notebook and use digital tools to support execution. This reduces cognitive fragmentation and creates a visible structure for action. Writing or sketching offline allows for high-level overview and reflection that screens often prevent. Train discipline through deliberate constraints. Limiting how and when tools are used strengthens self-control. Avoid using devices during idle moments or as a filler. Intentionally leave gaps where digital interaction is unnecessary. Controlled usage reinforces the concept that tools are instruments, not masters. Evaluate mental states during usage. Productive tool engagement feels purposeful and energizing. Mindless scrolling or jumping between apps creates fatigue and distracts from priorities. Reflect on feelings after each session and adjust behaviors accordingly. Self-awareness ensures digital interaction remains intentional rather than reactive. Integrate single tasking into tool use. Focusing on one digital task at a time improves quality and reduces errors. Multitasking across apps creates cognitive fragmentation and undermines productivity. Tools should serve singular objectives in clearly defined intervals for maximum benefit. Design work sessions around attention cycles. Use tools during periods of peak energy for intensive tasks. Avoid complex interactions during natural low-energy periods. Aligning tool use with biological rhythms improves output and prevents frustration. Intentional timing amplifies productivity without increasing effort. Resist the temptation of optional features. Many apps include functions that seem useful but provide minimal value and consume attention. Engage only with core features that serve immediate objectives. Eliminating superfluous functions keeps usage streamlined and focused. Document decisions and processes digitally for efficiency. Use tools to store important information, reference past actions, and plan future steps. This turns the digital environment into an organized extension of the mind rather than a chaotic distraction. Intentional recording supports recall and frees cognitive resources. Review outcomes regularly. After completing tasks with digital support, measure results against goals. Determine if tool use contributed meaningfully. Reflection creates feedback loops that refine digital habits. Productivity grows when engagement is both measured and purposeful. Balance digital time with physical and mental breaks. Even intentional use has cognitive costs. Step away periodically to move, breathe, or connect with nature. Recovery maintains focus and prevents depletion. Intentionality extends beyond the screen to overall energy management. Teach yourself to initiate work without immediate digital support. Begin with planning, thinking, or sketching ideas offline. Turn to tools only when their functionality directly enhances execution. This reversal of dependency ensures tools remain subordinate to focus, not the other way around. Maintain consistency in intentional usage. Sporadic disciplined behavior is less effective than habitual patterns. Daily practice reinforces mental pathways that favor productivity-oriented interactions. With repetition, intentional tool use becomes second nature. Using digital tools intentionally to enhance productivity is a conscious strategy. It involves clarity of purpose, structured timing, disciplined boundaries, automation where helpful, and constant reflection. When tools are used deliberately, they amplify focus and effectiveness instead of fragmenting attention. The mind is protected, energy preserved, and meaningful work becomes achievable. Chapter 16Z Build supportive habits that reduce digital dependence naturally. Building supportive habits that reduce digital dependence naturally begins with recognizing that technology is a tool, not a necessity for constant engagement. Dependence grows when habits form around convenience, boredom, or avoidance. Replacing these unconscious patterns with intentional behaviors restores control. The goal is not to eliminate devices entirely, but to create a lifestyle where use is deliberate rather than automatic. Start by identifying moments of habitual device use. Notice when your hand reaches for a phone without conscious thought or when a browser opens without reason. Awareness alone is the first step toward change. Keeping a simple log of these moments helps reveal patterns and triggers. Once identified, these moments become opportunities to introduce alternative behaviors. Replace idle screen time with short physical routines. Stretching, walking, or simple exercises occupy both body and mind and provide satisfaction that passive scrolling cannot. Movement also improves circulation, focus, and mood, reducing the unconscious pull toward digital distraction. Even 2 to 5 minutes several times a day can shift patterns substantially. Engage in reading printed material. Books, magazines, or notes allow deep attention without constant notifications. Physical reading fosters sustained focus and comprehension while breaking the cycle of digital reliance. Allocating dedicated reading periods each day trains the mind to seek knowledge through intentional effort rather than instant online gratification. Introduce micro-reflection breaks. Every few hours pause to consider recent actions, feelings, or achievements. These brief moments of introspection strengthen self-awareness and make it less likely that devices are used impulsively. Reflection encourages intentional choices and reinforces mental discipline. Create environmental cues that support reduced digital use. Keep devices out of immediate reach during work or rest periods. A clean, uncluttered space signals to the brain that focus and calm are expected. Small environmental adjustments prevent automatic engagement and make self-control easier. Schedule meaningful offline activities regularly. Cooking, journaling, drawing, or organizing create structured engagement that occupies time and attention constructively. These activities satisfy the human need for accomplishment and novelty, reducing reliance on digital input for stimulation. Prioritize social connection in person. Meetings, walks with friends, or casual conversations provide rich interaction that cannot be fully replaced digitally. Human presence fulfills social needs and diminishes the compulsion to seek connection through screens. Engaging in meaningful dialogue builds emotional energy and naturally reduces device dependence. Establish device-free periods during each day. Short windows of complete separation train the mind to tolerate absence. Begin with 15 to 30 minutes and gradually extend as comfort grows. During these periods, focus on work, reading, movement, or reflection to reinforce the sense of reward without digital engagement. Implement intentional reminders for critical tasks. Notes, alarms, or written checklists replace habitual reliance on constant digital cues. When reminders are structured and limited, the mind avoids wandering to unrelated apps. Intentional prompts guide behavior without overexposing attention to distractions. Practice deep breathing or brief meditation sessions. Even 1 to 3 minutes can calm impulses and restore clarity. Breathing routines strengthen awareness of physical sensations and internal states, reducing reflexive responses to device alerts. This simple practice integrates seamlessly into daily schedules. Prioritize sleep by reducing digital use 1 hour before bed. The absence of light and notifications improves circadian rhythm, emotional regulation, and cognitive recovery. Establishing this boundary reinforces a natural rhythm that diminishes late-night reliance on devices. Rested minds require less digital stimulation to feel satisfied. Designate specific times for necessary digital tasks. Batch communication, work, or browsing into defined periods. Avoid intermittent engagement, which fragments attention. Structured digital use maintains productivity while limiting unnecessary exposure. Regular patterns help the mind anticipate and respect boundaries. Cultivate hobbies that provide flow. Painting, playing an instrument, or learning a skill absorb attention fully. These activities fulfill the desire for stimulation without digital interference. Flow experiences strengthen focus and create a positive feedback loop that diminishes compulsive device use. Use accountability partners when possible. Sharing intentions with a friend or colleague encourages consistency. External reinforcement helps maintain habits during moments of temptation. Reporting progress, even informally, strengthens commitment to reduce digital dependence. Gradually reduce passive consumption. Observe the types of content that provide little value but demand time and attention. Slowly eliminate or limit exposure to these sources while substituting constructive activities. Gradual reduction prevents rebound frustration and supports sustainable behavior change. Leverage natural breaks to reinforce habits. Transition moments such as walking between tasks or waiting in line provide opportunities for intentional action instead of mindless scrolling. Using these windows productively trains the mind to choose awareness over automation. Reflect on long-term benefits regularly. Consider improved focus, better relationships, and increased energy. Keeping these benefits in mind strengthens motivation and reinforces habits. Awareness of positive outcomes encourages continued commitment to supportive behaviors. Introduce periodic challenges. Limit device use for a day or implement a weekend detox. Structured challenges provide insight into habitual patterns, highlight the value of digital restraint, and strengthen the mental muscles necessary for ongoing self-control. Reward consistent behavior. Acknowledge small wins in reducing unnecessary digital use. Celebrating incremental progress reinforces the psychological association between intentional habits and satisfaction. Over time, this reinforcement solidifies behavior as part of daily routine. Finally, integrate all supportive habits into a coherent daily structure. Morning routines, work periods, breaks, leisure activities, and evening wind down all reinforce a lifestyle where devices serve purpose rather than dictate behavior. Consistency, reflection, and deliberate action combine to create a natural reduction in digital dependence. Building supportive habits that reduce digital dependence naturally creates a sustainable framework for focus, clarity, and energy management. Through awareness, structured alternatives, and deliberate environmental design, the mind learns to operate independently of constant stimulation. Over time, these habits cultivate freedom, increase productivity, and improve overall well-being while maintaining balanced digital engagement. Chapter 17a. Practice reflection daily to evaluate your digital usage. Practicing daily reflection to evaluate digital usage is a powerful step toward reclaiming control over attention. Awareness alone does not guarantee change, but intentional reflection transforms experience into insight. Each day contains countless moments in which attention is directed toward screens, often unconsciously. Without observation, patterns of wasted time and distraction continue unchecked. Reflection allows those moments to be understood, measured, and adjusted. Begin by setting aside a specific time each day for reflection. This does not require lengthy hours, even 10 to 15 minutes is sufficient. Consistency is key. The mind develops the habit of reviewing actions and consequences, creating a feedback loop that improves behavior over time. Evening periods often work well because the day is complete and examples of digital engagement are fresh in memory. Morning reflection is also effective for planning intentional usage in advance. Create a structured approach to reflection. Start with a simple review of what digital tools were used during the day. List the applications, platforms, and devices engaged with. Note the purpose for each session. Did the usage accomplish a meaningful task, provide essential information, or support personal goals? This assessment separates productive usage from time-consuming distractions. Next, examine interruptions. Identify moments when attention was fragmented by notifications or impulses to check a device. Reflect on the consequences. Were tasks delayed? Was focus diminished? Did emotional energy drop? Understanding the cost of interruptions makes them visible and actionable. Evaluate emotional responses to digital engagement. Were certain apps or interactions energizing, stressful, or draining? Emotional patterns reveal underlying habits that may require adjustment. Reflecting on feelings associated with usage provides insight into motivation and helps identify triggers that lead to compulsive behavior. Consider time allocation. Compare actual usage against intended priorities. Did the time spent online align with goals or drift into passive consumption? Quantifying minutes in different activities reveals where changes can have the most impact. Over weeks, patterns become evident, showing which tools dominate attention unnecessarily. Reflection benefits from honesty and non-judgment. Observing digital usage is not about blame, but about awareness. Objective analysis strengthens self-trust and encourages proactive adjustment. Harsh judgment often triggers defensiveness and repetition of the same patterns. Calm, accurate evaluation creates clarity and motivation for change. Develop actionable insights during reflection. Identify specific behaviors to modify the next day. For example, limit social media to a single brief session or schedule email checks at defined intervals. Actionable steps turn observation into practical results, reinforcing the sense of agency. Record reflections in a journal or digital log. Writing solidifies understanding and creates a reference to monitor progress over time. A simple system such as noting time spent, purpose, interruptions, and emotional impact provides measurable feedback. Reviewing past entries highlights trends and strengthens discipline. Combine reflection with goal setting. Daily insights inform the adjustment of habits and routines. Define concrete objectives for future usage based on reflection. For instance, if excessive scrolling reduces evening relaxation, commit to a screen-free hour before sleep. Linking reflection to intention ensures that observation results in behavioral change. Use reflection to anticipate challenges. Recognize periods or situations when digital distractions are likely to be strongest. Plan preventive strategies in advance. By forecasting moments of vulnerability, the mind strengthens resistance and reduces impulsive engagement. Incorporate mindfulness into the process. While reviewing digital usage, notice physical sensations and mental states during different interactions. Were there moments of tension, restlessness, or fatigue? Awareness of these sensations deepens understanding of how digital habits affect overall well-being. Reflection also encourages appreciation of productive usage. Recognize tools and actions that contributed to goals, learning, or meaningful connection. Celebrating constructive behaviors reinforces their repetition and maintains balance between restriction and empowerment. Regular reflection fosters self-discipline. By consistently evaluating choices and outcomes, habits of mind are strengthened. The capacity to observe without reacting impulsively grows, creating a more deliberate approach to digital engagement. Evaluate patterns over longer periods. Weekly or monthly review of daily reflections can reveal deeper trends. Identify recurring sources of distraction, times of day when focus is strongest, and preferred tools for productive engagement. These insights support strategic adjustments rather than temporary fixes. Integrate reflection with physical environment checks. Consider whether device placement, workspace design, or ambient conditions contributed to distraction. Small environmental changes can dramatically reduce unintentional engagement. Reflection extends beyond mental review into practical adjustment of surroundings. Use reflection to track emotional resilience. Digital habits often influence mood and energy. Observing correlations between usage patterns and emotional states provides insight into triggers and protective strategies. Over time, intentional adjustments improve stability, reduce stress, and increase focus. Reflection encourages a sense of mastery. Observing usage, understanding consequences, and implementing changes reinforces control over attention. This sense of mastery strengthens motivation to maintain digital boundaries and supports broader personal development. Link reflection to long-term objectives. Daily observations connect short-term habits with overall life goals. Recognize how unnecessary digital engagement detracts from learning, creativity, relationships, or productivity. Seeing the bigger picture motivates sustained change. Finally, integrate reflection as a habitual practice. The mind responds to consistent self-assessment. When reflection becomes routine, it operates like an internal compass, guiding digital behavior toward deliberate, value-aligned actions. Over time, digital dependence diminishes naturally, focus strengthens, and mental energy is restored. Daily reflection to evaluate digital usage is a deliberate and practical strategy. By observing, measuring, and adjusting behavior consciously, The mind regains control over attention, restores clarity, and strengthens the capacity for meaningful engagement. Over weeks and months, reflection transforms digital interaction from passive habit into intentional tool, cultivating discipline, focus, and long-term mental resilience. Chapter 18. Replace passive scrolling with skill-building activities regularly. Replacing passive scrolling with skill-building activities requires a conscious shift in how time and attention are valued. Scrolling through feeds provides immediate gratification but leaves the mind fatigued and unfulfilled. Skill building, by contrast, invests energy in growth, competence, and long-term satisfaction. The difference is not simply productivity versus leisure, it is the transformation of attention from consumption to creation, from drift to purpose. Begin by identifying common moments of passive scrolling. Observe when your hand automatically reaches for the phone, or when a browser opens without intention. These moments are opportunities to intervene. Awareness alone disrupts habitual patterns and opens space for alternative action. Logging these instances over a few days makes patterns visible and actionable. Select skills that are meaningful and relevant. Choose activities that enhance personal growth, career development, or mental sharpness. Examples include learning a new language, practicing writing, coding, drawing, playing an instrument, or exploring analytical reasoning. Skills should align with personal goals so that engagement produces both satisfaction and measurable progress. Replace automatic scrolling with short, deliberate sessions of skill practice. Even 10 minutes of focused work builds competence over time. The key is consistency. Daily repetition strengthens neural pathways and increases the mind's capacity for concentration. Small investments compound into substantial improvement within weeks. Set up a physical or digital environment that encourages skill building. Keep necessary tools visible and accessible while limiting distractions. If practicing drawing, have pencils and paper ready. For language learning, keep flashcards or apps accessible but block unrelated feeds. Clear separation of tools supports focused practice. Establish intentional triggers to prompt skill practice. Instead of picking up the phone when bored, move to your skill station or workspace. Create cues that guide attention toward productive engagement. Over time, these cues condition the mind to respond automatically in ways that reinforce growth. Define measurable goals for skill development. For example, commit to completing one chapter of a language textbook daily, writing 500 words, or mastering a short musical piece each week. Specific targets provide clarity and reduce the drift that occurs when effort is unstructured. Progress tracking reinforces motivation and builds momentum. Use breaks strategically. Replace mindless scrolling during downtime with micro-sessions of skill work. Even a few focused minutes of practice strengthens habits and redirects energy. Integrating skill building into idle moments transforms previously wasted time into productive investment. Apply the principle of deliberate focus. During skill practice, eliminate distractions completely. Turn off notifications, silence devices, and create an environment conducive to concentration. Full engagement accelerates learning and trains the mind to value uninterrupted attention. Incorporate reflection into skill building. After each session, assess progress and note challenges. Reflection strengthens retention, improves strategy, and reinforces awareness of how time is spent. Reviewing outcomes prevents mindless repetition and encourages intentional refinement of skills. Diversify skills to maintain engagement. Rotating among complementary activities prevents fatigue and enhances cognitive flexibility. For instance, alternate between analytical, creative, and physical skills. Variety strengthens motivation and keeps the mind active in multiple dimensions. Leverage resources strategically. Online courses, books, tutorials, or mentors provide structured guidance. Using technology for learning rather than passive browsing transforms digital tools from distraction to instrument of growth. Purposeful engagement maximizes return on attention invested. Pair skill building with social accountability. Share progress with a friend, mentor, or learning community. External feedback and shared milestones reinforce commitment and make practice more enjoyable. Accountability reduces the likelihood of slipping back into passive scrolling. Track time spent on skill building versus passive scrolling. Awareness of minutes lost or gained highlights progress and motivates continued effort. Logging engagement provides objective feedback and allows adjustments to daily routines. Measurement strengthens intentionality. Celebrate small achievements. Mastery builds gradually, and recognizing incremental progress reinforces motivation. Completing a short lesson, finishing a practice piece, or achieving consistency for a week provides satisfaction that counters the instant gratification of scrolling. Replace habitual scrolling with creative application. Apply learned skills to real-world problems or personal projects. For example, writing can result in articles, coding can produce apps, and drawing can develop into portfolios. Applying skills solidifies knowledge and demonstrates tangible value from previously wasted time. Use natural energy cycles to optimize practice. Schedule skill building during periods of peak attention. Avoid using low-energy moments for complex learning. Aligning practice with biological rhythms increases efficiency and enhances retention. Establish reward systems for consistent practice. Positive reinforcement strengthens the habit loop and maintains motivation. Rewards should reinforce progress without undermining focus, such as a short break outdoors or a small treat after completing a session. Integrate skill practice into daily routines. Pair practice with morning rituals, lunch breaks, or pre-sleep wind downs. Regular integration reduces reliance on willpower and turns skill building into an automatic and valued part of the day. Recognize the long-term benefits of replacing scrolling. Skill building develops competence, confidence, and self-efficacy. It cultivates patience, resilience, and the capacity to focus deeply. Awareness of these benefits reinforces commitment and creates a clear reason to maintain the habit. Over time, the substitution of skill building for passive scrolling reshapes attention patterns. The mind begins to seek growth-oriented engagement naturally, reducing the appeal of aimless consumption. Productivity, mental energy, and satisfaction increase as deliberate practice becomes a defining feature of daily life. Replacing passive scrolling with skill-building activities is not simply a change in behavior, it is a transformation of attention into a resource that produces tangible growth. Consistent practice, intentional environment design, reflection, and accountability create a sustainable framework for mastery. The mind becomes resilient, focused, and capable of directing energy toward meaningful achievements rather than fleeting distraction. Chapter 19: Strengthen attention span with short focused practice sessions. Strengthening attention span with short focused practice sessions is an effective method to reclaim mental clarity and build sustainable concentration. Attention is like a muscle. It grows stronger with deliberate exercise but weakens when neglected. Modern life conditions the mind for constant distraction, creating a habit of shallow focus. Reversing this requires structured practice that gradually increases the mind's capacity to sustain attention without fatigue or wandering. Begin by selecting a single task to focus on for a brief period. This can be reading a book, solving a problem, writing, or practicing a skill. The key is to choose one activity that demands undivided attention. The initial session should be short enough to complete without strain, usually between 5 and 10 minutes. This ensures success and prevents discouragement, creating a foundation for gradual growth. Set a clear intention for each session. Decide exactly what will be accomplished and maintain awareness of this goal throughout. Clarity reduces mental drift and provides a benchmark to measure progress. When attention wavers, gently remind yourself of the objective and redirect focus without self-criticism. Redirection is part of the training process. Eliminate distractions before starting. Silence notifications, place devices out of reach, and arrange the environment to support concentration. Visual clutter, ambient noise, and background stimuli can fragment focus. A controlled setting allows the mind to settle quickly and remain engaged with the chosen task. Track attention during sessions. Notice moments when the mind wanders or impulses to check a device arise. Each instance provides insight into habitual weaknesses. Observing these patterns allows for strategic adjustments, reinforcing awareness and discipline over time. The goal is not perfection but consistent improvement. Gradually increase session length as capacity grows. Begin with short intervals to build tolerance and confidence. Once the mind can sustain attention reliably, extend sessions by a few minutes each week. Incremental increases prevent fatigue and maintain motivation, creating steady growth in focus endurance. Incorporate short breaks between sessions. The mind requires rest to consolidate learning and prevent cognitive overload. Breaks should be deliberate and restorative, such as stretching, breathing exercises, or a brief walk. Returning to the next session refreshed improves quality and strengthens the overall attention span. Use a single, tasking approach. Focusing on one task at a time enhances depth of engagement and cognitive retention. Multitasking reduces attention and weakens the brain's ability to maintain sustained focus. Short focused sessions work best when dedicated entirely to one meaningful objective. Apply mindfulness during each practice. Observe thoughts, sensations, and distractions without judgment. Awareness of internal states increases control over attention and reduces the automatic pull toward irrelevant stimuli. Mindfulness integrates cognitive observation with intentional action, deepening concentration. Introduce a variety of tasks over time. Engage in mental, creative, and physical focus exercises to train different aspects of attention. Reading, problem-solving, music practice, or strategic games provide diverse challenges that strengthen overall cognitive endurance. Variety prevents stagnation and encourages adaptive concentration. Schedule practice sessions consistently. Daily repetition develops habit and conditions the brain for reliable focus. Consistency is more effective than occasional long sessions, as frequent short exercises create neural patterns that enhance sustained attention naturally. Integrating sessions into a fixed routine reinforces automatic engagement. Use accountability to maintain discipline. Share goals or practice plans with a mentor, friend, or colleague. Reporting progress or checking in externally encourages commitment and reduces the likelihood of skipping sessions. Accountability strengthens consistency and reinforces the habit loop of focused engagement. Reflect after each session. Consider what went well, what distracted attention, and how performance could improve. Reflection consolidates learning and allows adjustments in approach, environment, or timing. Over time, reflection reveals patterns that inform more effective practice strategies. Leverage tools selectively. Timers, notebooks, or simple tracking apps can support short sessions by providing structure and feedback. Tools should simplify practice rather than distract. The focus remains on building attention, not on using technology for its own sake. Integrate attention training into daily activities. Even routine tasks like cleaning, cooking, or organizing can be approached with deliberate focus. Practicing concentration in ordinary moments strengthens neural pathways and extends benefits beyond formal sessions. Attention becomes a default mode rather than a specialized exercise. Notice mental fatigue during practice. Recognize when focus begins to decline and end sessions intentionally rather than forcing continuation. Awareness of limits prevents burnout and strengthens sustainable growth. Returning to practice later allows recovery and continued progress. Celebrate small improvements. Recognize the ability to sustain attention for longer periods, resist distraction, or complete tasks efficiently. Positive reinforcement encourages continued effort and builds confidence in the mind's capacity to concentrate. Motivation is strengthened by visible progress. Apply the principle of deliberate challenge. Push attention slightly beyond comfort without overextending. Incremental difficulty encourages growth and resilience. Gradually, the mind adapts to longer or more demanding tasks with steadier engagement. Use environmental cues to reinforce attention. Designate spaces specifically for focused work or practice. Entering these spaces signals to the brain that concentration is required, making it easier to transition into deep focus. Consistent cues create conditioned responses that support sustained attention. Link attention practice to long-term goals. Understand that strengthening focus enhances learning, productivity, creativity, and personal growth. Connecting practice with meaningful outcomes provides motivation and purpose beyond immediate effort. Awareness of impact reinforces commitment and encourages perseverance. Finally, integrate short focus sessions as a core habit. Over time, the mind develops endurance, clarity, and resilience. Distractions lose their power, and attention becomes a trained skill rather than a fragile resource. Consistent, deliberate practice transforms the ability to concentrate into a foundation for achieving larger goals, mastering tasks, and maintaining mental clarity. Strengthening attention span with short focused practice sessions is not an abstract exercise, but a practical strategy to reclaim control over time and energy. With deliberate structure, reflection, mindfulness, and incremental growth, the mind becomes capable of sustained focus, deep engagement, and resilient concentration, enabling both daily productivity and long-term personal development. Chapter 20. Commit to a sustainable digital detox lifestyle permanently. Committing to a sustainable digital detox lifestyle permanently begins with a clear understanding that balance, not total avoidance, is the goal. Technology is a tool that can enhance productivity, connection, and learning when used intentionally, but constant engagement erodes focus, drains energy, and fragments attention. A sustainable approach requires conscious decisions, consistent practice, and an awareness of both the benefits of disconnection and the ways technology can serve purpose rather than demand control. Start by evaluating current digital habits comprehensively. Observe how often devices are checked, which apps dominate attention, and how digital engagement affects mood, energy, and productivity. Record patterns without judgment to gain clarity. Awareness is the foundation of intentional change. Understanding the triggers for compulsive use allows for targeted adjustments and creates a clear picture of where interventions are necessary. Establish clear intentions for technology use. Determine which devices and applications serve meaningful goals and which create distraction or mindless engagement. Purposeful intention transforms interaction from automatic to deliberate. Each time a device is picked up, there is a conscious choice rather than a reflexive reaction. Intentionality becomes a guiding principle, reducing stress and increasing satisfaction with time spent online. Create boundaries for daily digital usage. Define specific hours for work-related use, communication, and leisure, and separate these from personal or restorative time. Scheduled boundaries prevent overconsumption and encourage deeper engagement with offline life. Over time, these limits reinforce self-discipline and condition the mind to respect focus and rest periods. Designate device-free periods for essential mental recharge. Even short windows of complete disconnection allow the brain to recover, strengthen focus, and regain energy. Use this time for reflection, movement, reading, or connecting with others in person. Regular device-free intervals train the mind to tolerate absence and reduce dependency. Integrate rituals that support conscious usage. Morning routines, evening wind downs, and breaks throughout the day can be structured to reduce automatic engagement. Rituals act as signals to the mind that attention will be directed intentionally, creating predictable patterns that support consistency and reduce temptation. Replace mindless scrolling or passive consumption with meaningful activities. Skill-building exercise, reading, journaling, or hobbies provide satisfaction and mental stimulation without digital interference. Replacing unproductive habits with growth-oriented alternatives shifts energy from distraction to development, reinforcing a sense of accomplishment. Leverage tools and technology selectively. Use applications that enhance focus, productivity, or learning while minimizing exposure to content that fragments attention. Filtering notifications, disabling non-essential apps, and creating focused workspaces ensures that digital tools serve function rather than drive compulsive behavior. Build supportive habits that naturally reduce dependence. Daily practices such as meditation, physical movement, outdoor exposure, or creative work decrease the unconscious pull toward devices. Habits create structure and automatic reinforcement of intentional behavior, making digital detox sustainable without relying solely on willpower. Reflect regularly on progress. Daily or weekly reflection identifies successes, challenges, and areas for adjustment. Observing patterns over time highlights improvements, reveals weaknesses, and motivates continued commitment. Reflection transforms awareness into actionable insight and reinforces accountability to oneself. Develop a long-term mindset. View digital detox as an ongoing lifestyle rather than a temporary challenge. Permanent change requires patience, adaptability, and continuous self-observation. Accept that lapses may occur, but maintain focus on overall improvement and intentional habits. The goal is gradual, sustainable transformation rather than rigid perfection. Connect with supportive environments. Engage with friends, colleagues, or communities who value intentional digital usage. Shared norms and mutual encouragement reinforce behavior and provide external accountability. Supportive social structures make adherence easier and more enjoyable. Plan for high-risk situations. Identify times, places, or emotional states that increase vulnerability to distraction. Develop strategies in advance to manage these triggers, such as substituting alternative activities, setting stricter boundaries, or temporarily limiting device access. Preparedness strengthens resilience and reduces relapse. Integrate mindfulness into every interaction. Pay attention to the purpose and quality of engagement with devices. Notice emotional and cognitive responses to digital input. Mindfulness enhances self-regulation and ensures that usage aligns with intention rather than compulsion. Gradually expand focus on balance across life domains. Use saved mental energy to enhance relationships, personal development, creative work, and physical well-being. A sustainable digital detox creates space for meaningful engagement in multiple areas, reinforcing the value of intentional attention. Celebrate achievements in discipline and clarity. Recognize moments of successful restraint, focused work, or restorative disconnection. Positive reinforcement strengthens commitment and encourages habitual adherence. Acknowledging progress prevents discouragement and nurtures intrinsic motivation. Incorporate flexibility. While consistency is important, allow for occasional exceptions without judgment. Flexibility prevents frustration and promotes sustainability by acknowledging the realities of modern life. The emphasis remains on overall balance and intentionality rather than rigid control. Use periodic challenges to reinforce commitment. Device-free weekends, limited social media periods, or concentrated focus sessions strengthen the habit of intentional engagement. Challenges provide insight into reliance patterns and build mental resilience, making regular digital detox practices easier to maintain. Maintain awareness of long-term benefits. Improved focus, deeper relationships, greater productivity, mental clarity, and emotional stability are the outcomes of sustainable digital detox. Keeping these benefits in mind reinforces dedication and helps navigate moments of temptation. Integrate detox practices into all aspects of daily life. Mealtimes, commutes, leisure periods, and creative work can become opportunities for intentional engagement or restorative disconnection. Embedding the practice into everyday routines ensures permanence without requiring constant effort or vigilance. Commitment to a sustainable digital detox lifestyle is a holistic endeavor. It combines self-awareness, intentionality, structured habits, reflection, mindfulness, and purposeful engagement with technology. Over time, these practices reduce automatic dependency, enhance focus, preserve energy, and cultivate a sense of mastery over attention. The result is a balanced, intentional, and resilient approach to digital life, where devices serve meaningful purpose rather than dictate behavior. Permanent digital detox is not a one-time act but a disciplined, evolving lifestyle. By consistently choosing intentional interaction, embracing offline practices, reflecting on usage, and prioritizing growth over distraction, the mind develops resilience, clarity, and enduring focus. A sustainable approach ensures that attention remains a consciously directed resource, energy is preserved, and life is lived with greater purpose and presence.